small bird. Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 16th of July, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Bird.
And Robert Kemp.
Woo woo!
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. I was thinking of doing both parts myself, but then I was like, I'll leave that one wrong.
An excellent call.
Oh, that passed me by, that reference. What's bird woo woo?
We talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, it's a few podcasts ago. My mum bought Miles a toy where you push a button on it and it just goes bird woo woo, and it plays a train noise instead of a bird noise.
Is that still going strong? It hasn't fixed itself.
I mean, we still haven't got that here.
No.
Fortunately, that's still
okay.
Still at me mum.
You still don't have any noise-making toys in this house yet?
Oh, there is one.
Okay.
There is one, and
well, apart from like jangling and crinkling.
There's a lot of jangling and crinkling toys, yeah, but
not one that play any samples.
There's a musical turtle,
okay,
which has like 3 massive buttons on it. It's attached to the Jumperoo thing that our friends the Barlows kindly gifted us. There's like massive buttons on it. It just goes dong dong. You can make it play annoying music, but we don't put it on that mode. just pushing the buttons just makes it go dong, and then if you leave it alone for a bit, it sort of has a going into standby, I guess, sort of sound effect where it sort of either plays like soothing ocean noises, like a, or it will go
not really appropriate for like matching those two sound waves together.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't think he's that interested in the pushing the noisy buttons.
Not yet.
Yeah. Can you get away without any of those toys? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's depriving a baby of that much.
I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, is it enhancing his musical ability just listening to tones? But
well, it's more like, I guess the train woo woo except not is like, that's more about learning language, right? Because it's saying the actual word.
Yeah, association, I suppose, as well.
But surely, like, babies like cotton on more if it's their parents saying it than if it's some random.
Well, that depends on how much you want to sit there and parent slash hand it off to a digital device.
It's hard to know how much he's actually like paying attention to in terms of association at this point, because you know, when you get the maximum amount of enjoyment out of singing badgers, badgers, badgers to him, or
that's maybe the worrying part then, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many times are you going to say balls and then that will just be the first word that he knows? Just balls.
Balls! I don't know, the B sound's probably quite tricky, isn't it? Like making a B as opposed to a D or a M.
Maybe, I guess so.
That's why Dada and Mama are like...
I don't think that's why. I mean, I don't think the syllables are why that makes that more or less easy.
Presumably Mama is the easiest, right? Because there's
probably.
Yeah. That is literally just a mouth opening and closing to make a M sound. It's not really much else to it. Whereas B's and D's involve some amount of skill.
Yeah. The plosive nature of them enhances the funniness of badgers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
balls.
Absolutely. I think we've definitely proven Miles loves a plosive.
Yeah.
He's a plosive fan.
Who doesn't love a plosive?
I mean, sometimes it's just enough to just stare him in the eyes and go poo 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 poo, and he loves that. So.
Just do the plosives.
Poo, 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 poo. I mean, he's quite fond of actually just looking away for a few seconds. Doesn't have to be very long, and then just looking at him and going boo, like the least effective.
Right. There you go. There's the B plosive again.
Yeah, the least effective jump scare in the world, but that seems to work quite well with him. He likes that as well. Although he was pretty happy with me just saying jiggle, jiggle, jiggle to him earlier. he likes that as well. But I don't know what category a J sound falls into.
You're doing a Louis Theroux rap situation.
I have heard that rap music... Yeah, I know someone who was telling me that rapping Ludacris works quite well with their child. So,
specifically Ludacris?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm yet to try such a thing.
You have to try out a few different artists and see which...
I think the only sort of bit of Ludacris I could really remember is the is the sort of like featuring section he does on Usher's Yeah. I can remember most of that.
For obvious reasons.
Well, yeah, because I remixed it all.
Did a remix of
Yeah.
Usher's Yeah. I think your remix was superior to the original in my view, but there you go. Exactly, it's so irritating.
To me, it's not that synth that annoys me about Usher's Yeah. It's that sort of at the end of like every bar or something, there's like someone with a triangle just going to town. So it's like a proper hip hop beat, sort of dum dum boom boom dum dum
yeah
dum ding 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 ding
ding ding ding ding ding. Fucking Will Ferrell there with a cowbell.
Yeah, and just after the length of a song, that gets pretty irritating to my ear. Just this very high frequency ding ding ding. There you go. That's my music critique for the week. Usher's Yeah.
Yeah.
So
apparently when REM wrote Man on the Moon, obviously it's about Andy Kaufman, but apparently they were trying to get more yeahs into a song than Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Because the chorus of Lithium is just the word yeah. So they were like, we're going to go yeah between every single bit of the verse, and then we'll get more yeahs in than you.
Yeah, but then Lithium is mostly just one yeah, isn't it? It's like it's one long yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's still one. Still only counts as one. The Gimli thing.
Yeah, exactly. They way outclassed Kurt on the number of yeahs. But I don't know about the ratio of yeahs to a full chorus that's nothing but yeah is hard to top.
I'm sure there was that. I don't know if this was intentional beef, but or an intentional plan. But I'm sure Limp Bizkit and the Insane Clown Posse did the same thing with the number of fucks in a song.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Obviously,
that's a classic contest.
They number it in as part of the lyrics as well.
In that one specific song that's designed for that one specific purpose.
Yeah. I mean, the Insane Clown Posse had them completely blown away.
Well, obviously.
But I don't know if that came after Limp Bizkit's attempt.
There's still a thing, right? The gathering of the Juggalos is still going.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if they put out music.
No. Maybe they worked out how magnets work, and now that's how they make their money.
They've completed their scientific endeavours.
Yes.
That's the end of it.
What else is new?
Guess what's back on the high street? Our high street
again.
Specifically.
Leaks?
Yep.
Leaks are back. Tell a friend.
It's yet more indication of the same thing that we were theorising, where it's right next to a place that they've literally only just fixed. So it's all they're doing is moving the problem because whenever they do work, they must just because of the way they have to cut off and repressurise and all that kind of stuff. It just forces more pressure into new areas that aren't prepared for it, and then the leaks just move slightly further up the line.
I was wondering if there's some sort of not so passive aggressive rebellion going on inside Anglian water. So the guys are coming out and they're doing what looks like work, but they're not fixing the issues. They're just moved somewhere else. Because it's not just here now. I've heard this about.
It's like I was saying. It's clearly got to be just one of those corporate work mandate things where it's you're only allowed to work in this exact zone. So anything you see 10 feet further away, don't just ignore that. That's not your current job.
It's not your problem. Yeah, some got subcontractor thing. It's no, you're not allowed to work on that. Yeah, I get it. But
but I'm sure on most of these leaks, especially this one where it's been that the original leak there must have been fixed I don't know 2 months ago at this point probably. So it's clearly just damage that they did at the time has very slowly opened up to make a new leak by now, so there wouldn't have been a way for them to be able to tell that they were fucking it up then.
No, well, it's because it must be pretty difficult when it's all underground to actually see if you've made a problem down the pipe.
Yes.
which is clearly what's been happening on this street, right?
Yep, very clearly.
Just move the problem a few feet, come back and do it again. Apparently, it's been happening in Bury St Edmunds as well a little bit. This sort of thing, like moving leak issues. Apparently, if I wanted to go into work one day, I wouldn't have been able to because they closed the site because there was no water at all. Good times,
really.
Yeah. Good times for Anglian Water. Get it together. You're on blast because the Happy Salad has so much weight behind this.
Well, I mean, they're arguably doing better than certain other water companies right now.
What is it? The London
right,
one?
Thames Water.
Thames Water, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I've still got water going.
Despite all this, there's a leaking on my street and all that stuff, and them sending me alerts occasionally saying, like, we fixed the problem. And I'm like, we're just sat here going, what problem? It's never actually affected our house yet. So we've been good. I guess there'll be a point where it creeps up the street enough where maybe we end up on the wrong side of it.
Well, maybe, but it seems like it's happened on like either side of your house essentially, and the bit that's down one end has like moved up, and now it's started going back. Like it's gone back to places it had already fucked up.
Maybe we've secretly got our own pipe. We've got like some secret supply. We're not on the grid, baby.
Or maybe your pipes are better due to, like, I don't know, when they had to do the oil tank work or whatever, they were like, oh, let's look at these water pipes as well.
Yeah, maybe, because I guess this house was built slightly later than most of the ones around it, so I guess because it came later, maybe the pipes are still fresh.
Yeah, maybe you've got, like, a couple more years until your pipes get all fucked.
Yeah. It's a precursor. We've been warned. Pipe time. Need some of that pipe dope.
What?
Dope up those pipes.
Yeah, pipe dope.
Pipe dope.
Pipe dope. What is pipe dope?
Isn't it like the sort of gluey stuff that holds joints
it?
Together or something? Like,
That's what they call it in America.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen the goop version. I've always seen the tape version where they wrap the joint in that like white tape before they screw it in. That's the same thing, but just in a different form.
Oh, I didn't know.
It's meant to make the seal better.
I just thought that was a lazy way of doing it. It's like we won't dope this properly. We'll just put some masking tape on it or something.
Not masking tape. It's a very specific kind of tape.
Okay, well that reassures me a little bit.
It's not even really tape. Like it's not sticky. It's just that because you're wrapping it around a bit of pipe that is then in like a screw.
It's then squeezed into it, I guess. Yeah. Pipe dope. It's fun to say. Pipe dope.
Dope sounds like you're kind of. I'm thinking of like
Drugs.
doping of. Yeah, not drugs, but like it seems like it's something you add to something, doesn't it? When you dope.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah. In silicon. That's what that's called.
But that's where it comes from, presumably, does it? Like, is it a silicon sealant, the pipe dope?
No,
I don't know.
I don't think so. But the dope in silicon isn't the silicon part; it's the other stuff.
Oh yeah.
What,
you mean in the like making chips, like computer chips
to make it semiconductive? You have to dope it with another thing that's not silicon. I believe
silicon's just the medium.
Yeah,
the medium of dope.
So weird.
A dope carrier, I suppose.
Definitely drugs.
Definitely drugs.
Well, that's the outside.
The outside world
bitching. Outside world bitching. Have we got any inside bitching?
Well, we can raise
grousing.
Oh, we can raise the first instance of the apartment department as we talk about Dan's fancy smart curtain thing.
Fancy curtains.
It's not the first time we've talked about them, but
right. Well, yeah, we didn't give it a name before, did it? It was like we didn't go into flat chat officially.
Yeah, flat chat. Well, yeah, I upgraded my curtains situation, which was a whole deal because I have like floor to ceiling picture windows around my living room and in the bedroom as well, so they like require significant coverage. But my additional thing was my electric blind as well in the bedroom to cover up the annoyance of the security light that flashes my window at night.
Sort of little thing. I didn't realize it was like two, like it could move from both the top and the bottom.
Yeah,
so create like a weird bar of blind.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not necessary to have but yeah, it kind of, you can get it to completely float, right, and move the top separately. So you could have the bottom of the blind at the bottom and the top halfway up. So you could do like a weird like burlesque show or whatever behind it if you want it.
You can host your own episode of Naked Attraction out your window.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's an advantage, I guess. But yeah. I had a bit of, it's quite cool because I was wondering, well, before they arrived, I was like, well, where's it going to plug in? I have some plugs, but how am I going to, but it all goes flush with a battery or whatever that clips in behind it out of view. And you just need to unclip it and charge it up, but it hasn't needed charging yet.
And could you hook a solar to it instead? So it's just, because it's out the window.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, that's probably an option. But yeah, it's all quite neat and tidy. And yeah. So I set it to, I had a bit of trouble connecting it to this because it has its own, hub thing. Just like the Hue lights have to have their own bridge that you plug into your router. This thing needed its own thing that you plug into the router.
Is it Zigbee and Z-Wave or something, and just didn't?
Almost certainly is. But when they left, they had tested the hub to make sure it worked, presumably, but they hadn't factory reset it, so it was impossible for me to get it to connect to the blind because it was already connected to a bunch of stuff in their showroom or whatever. So I had to call them, but managed to figure out how to reset it, and then it was fine. And then I set it up to open the blind in the morning. That's the idea. So I get the light. Even though with the curtains closed, then the light will come in through the curtain, like a nice sheer curtain. And then I was like, I'll have it close at sunset. That'll work. So I put that into the app and it didn't work. But I think it started working. I put a backup, like just close at, 11 p.m. in case the other one hasn't worked. But wondering, it seems to have started working.
I wonder how that sort of, because it's the mechanism of the top and the bottom. I can understand like how like a standard blind would appear to like a system like SmartThings or Home Assistant, right? Where a blind is probably a standard thing.
Yeah, I think I can attach it to HomeKit or whatever I want, but I haven't bothered with that.
But the bit that I wonder about is because it can move in those two different directions. It's like, do they count as two? How does it represent things? That? Yeah, does it count as two blind motors, like one from the bottom and the top, and you have to somehow like control?
Well, it certainly does. I mean, in the app that comes with it, you can you get a little screen where you can slide them independently if you want, and then set a preset or whatever.
Yeah, I imagine the inbuilt app has it all like nicely abstracted away, but.
I don't know for an open standard to work with. Maybe that's common enough that can be an open standard.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I wonder if that's got to that point.
I haven't tried it, but I need it to stop slightly before the bottom of the travel because I've still got some skirting board there, so it never goes fully to the bottom. So I've got like a preset save so that it stops before it hits the skirting board, which I could remove. I could remove the skirting board, but it's fine. I don't need it to completely cover the bottom of the window. But yeah, it's got endless fun. That video just showing off. I'm never going to actually use that, but I will use the opening and closing every day automatically without thinking about it. That is awesome, and it's a big thing. So that was the big thing. The fun thing is the motorized smart blind, but the big thing is actually just nice curtains. To be honest. Nice curtains.
It'd be nice to motorize the blind in here, I think, just because actually, it's not super difficult, but I do have to reach over my desk to get to the
extremely
cords.
first world problems.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, because it's a traditional blind, right? They put the cords to change the slat angle at one end, and the cords to actually move the blind up and down at the other end. And it's one of those pretty dodgy mechanisms where it doesn't work quite right. You sort of pull it a bit and it goes up a bit and then stays there, and then you want to try and get it down, so you do the thing where you pull it to the side or something, and then it doesn't come down. Anyway, stupid bloody things. I don't like that. And of course, like the way I've got my office arranged, it's like that's now tucked behind monitors, so it's even more awkward. But motorize the thing.
But when are you ever going to actually put those blinds up rather than open?
No, I don't think I'll ever actually put them up properly. If anything, I want better blinds so I can put a blackout behind the monitors, because there's always some light leakage in here, always. And if I want to get,
It's not a bedroom, so it doesn't matter that much.
It doesn't matter that much unless I want to get the light gun out, because the light gun sees the leakage through the blinds, and it's a bit too. It's it can screw up the monitor recognition.
Doubly extreme first world problems.
I know. Buy a blackout blind
well.
just for my gun.
Yeah. Well, that's the apartment department.
It's the condo correspondo.
The flat chat. The condominiums.
Condominium continuum. I don't know. I can't think of something that's
Condominium continuum. I can't even remember what makes it a condominium. It's something different, isn't it?
Is it a specific thing that makes it that over an apartment?
I think so.
Or is that just the American version? Because it's when one person owns the whole building or something, right? And then they're like apartments, but it's...
But then that's how a lot of...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it just like that's just the American word for what we would just call like a block flat or whatever, but just owned by one
but
person
apartment blocks
company.
are like that most of the time, right? You don't own...
Or is it the opposite way round? Where in a condominium, the individual ones are individually owned.
Right, well, the building as a whole is some kind of like...
Co-op or something.
Yeah. Maybe. Still can't think of a decent word for chat that ends in ium. Or... Condominium proverbium. I don't know. No, it doesn't make any sense.
It says, unlike apartments which are leased by their tenants, in most systems, condominium units are owned outright. And the owners of the individual units collectively own the common areas, like the roof and
I see. Yeah,
the halls and stuff. So I think technically, I mean, I have leasehold, right? So I think it's just an apartment. There is a freehold that owns the lifts and stuff, which is the council.
You're technically not responsible for the roof of the whole building, right?
I just pay whatever.
Whereas if it was a condo, I suppose
service charge. Yeah,
I suppose like everyone in the building is collectively responsible for the state of the building's roof.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be annoying.
That would be quite annoying. Yeah, but someone would have to.
But you would be able to go on the roof if you wanted.
That's true.
Yeah, but that's shared area. That's slightly different, right? That's like even in blocks of flats, right? Stairwells are considered shared areas, and therefore,
yeah, that's true.
Block of flats, condominium consortium. You'd have to join one of those. Would that mean you'd like actually own multiple blocks of condominiums if you're in a consortium of I don't know.
As of 3rd of June 2009, there are 12 condos in England and 1 in Wales.
Individual condos or like blocks of condos?
Blocks. So 12 condos comprising 97 units in England.
Wow.
And 1 comprising 30 units in Wales. So the only places with that system in England and Wales.
I guess the UK kind of figured it was a pain in the arse.
Yeah, maybe it's changed. I mean, 2009 is a while ago. Anyway, fascinating. There's your condominium continuum. This is a podcast about video games.
You did continue that chat on slightly longer than I was expecting.
I mean, we were talking about condominium because of SimCity 2000, which is related to video games. It is a video game. And presumably they will be present in the upcoming City Skylines 2.
I guess. I don't think they're actually...
Maybe?
I don't think I've ever noticed them being called condominiums. Like, I've noticed apartments and that kind of thing.
Was it SimCity? Yeah. Were they even mentioned explicitly in SimCity, or was it SimTower? Where...
Oh, good question.
No, it was definitely... we picked it up from SimCity 2000, for sure.
For sure.
But I'm pretty sure the ones in SimTower were also called condos, right? The ones, the actual living areas.
Surely that's wrong, right? Because they clearly don't have responsibility for that building.
No, it's no, but they do buy the unit.
Okay. So
it's a one-off payment. It's not like rent.
Unit, but
so they definitely buy it.
Yeah, but that's more like the apartment like I have. Like that's not condominium.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
doesn't make sense.
who is running that building in Sim Tower, really? Is it you?
Yes.
You.
Is it though?
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
What else did we have in Sin City 2000? I think there were like 2 different industrial chemical plants with big gas tanks or whatever. But one of them was like brown.
Oh no, wait,
yeah,
the flat ones.
Yeah,
the burgers and the moldy burgers.
The burgers, because we referred to the brown, healthy-looking burger as McDonald's and the moldy-looking green one as Burger King. I think at the time.
Rude.
I know it was rude.
I mean, yeah, you two did have a McDonald's preference back in that day.
At the time,
I mean, it was
maybe
different.
It's the other way around. Maybe it's the other way around.
I've always been singing for the king.
It may have been the other way around. Actually, that would have made more sense potentially.
Things were different back then. In fast food terms.
I mean, if you ever wanted one of those, like, God, I'm getting old moments, right? That I saw the other day.
I'm getting them every day at the moment.
I know.
So.
Like, I saw on there was a McDonald's ad on TV where they introduced, like, you can now have a saver meal, right? So it's like one of those little burgers with like a drink and a small fries or something for the same amount of money that we used to buy a Big Mac meal. And I'm like, oh.
That's wrong.
Inflation.
Yeah.
Inflation stations. Yeah. Cost of living, mate.
BK the Big Mac factor, isn't it? They still use that as a economic marker.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That Taco Bell's
cost
close to opening, by the way, in Ipswich.
Oh, really?
We'll be getting some tacos soon.
In the Switch?
In the Switch, yeah. We're getting a Taco Bell.
I think they are popping up. It always looks so unappetizing, though. I don't even want to try it particularly.
I don't know. I mean, I love my Mexican food, but I'm super intrigued because I've never had I haven't really ever eaten out much Mexican, I guess. I mean, big ass burritos in Cambridge, notwithstanding. That place rules. But
Nana Mexico in Cambridge.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Well. Nana Mexico is big ass burritos.
Oh, is that the same thing? Yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's their tagline.
Right. Okay. Fair.
Yeah, Nana Mexico. Yeah, that place is excellent quesadillas. Yeah, I love Mexican, but I don't know. There doesn't seem to be many places that have like what I would call like a satisfying Mexican meal. Like even with like restaurants that like Chiquitos existing, but you know it's Chiquitos. it's a little bit. I think I've been there once and was like. Or you go to like these other restaurants that have like a fajita stack or something, or like a sizzler. They bring out the tower with all the pieces so you can make your own fajitas and stuff. And it's like, it's never enough on those stacks. Like, give me twice as much stuff and I'll be happy. They were a bit of a letdown. So maybe a cheap version of that from Taco Bell means I can just order twice as much and then be satisfied.
Well, you'll have to report back. You're going to try it as soon as you can. When it opens.
Probably. Well, I don't know. As soon as I can in Ipswich, it seems like a bad idea because when that Tim Hortons opened, like traffic got mad. Like it was backed up.
Isn't
that
Tim
Hortons.
The Canadian place? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd rather try that than personally than Taco Bell.
It's not great.
It's not great.
It's not great. And in fairness, I didn't try their coffee in, right? And that's the thing. Like Tim Hortons coffee is supposed to be good. Like coffee and a donut.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Like a breakfast type thing.
Admittedly, we had it as like a replacement for a McDonald's or something. We had burgers and chips. And okay, their chips are okay because they're like waffle chips, I guess. Like or those sort of like hash chips. That's sort of like a grid of chip. Do you know what I mean? Those things. They're sort of southern fried, seasoned, which is so they're quite nice. But yeah, the burger wasn't anything to talk about, like at all. Should have gone with a Burger King. You know, should have gone to Mackie D's. I could have even gone to have even a KFC burger is more satisfying. And that's not even beef. It'd be weird if KFC did beef.
One thing that has come in London anyway, is Popeye's chicken, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that pops up in Ipswich, definitely give that a go.
I mean, we never got
It's a
that
good fried
Five Guys.
fried chicken.
Supposedly we were going to get a Five Guys years ago, and then it happened.
Oh, that's a shame. Those are good.
Yeah, I like a Five Guys. It's pricey, but excessively
Yeah,
pricey.
Yeah.
For what it is, but
Yeah,
it is
it's
nice.
true.
Five Guys, just mix it up a bit. That's all I'm asking for. Just a bit of variety. Says the man who is quite happy to have pizza every week.
Yeah, and the same pizza every week.
Yeah,
Not even a variant.
Pretty much. Yeah. But having the option feels good. Its existence feels good.
But unfortunately, feeling good doesn't make capitalism work.
I went to a family thing yesterday, and my cousin had pizza oven situation going on, and delicious pizza. It was really, really good. You're gonna have to get one, Rob, at some point. I took a picture of it because so we can look up the model, because he'd obviously done the research or whatever. But it was like amazing.
I'm gonna have to come up with a quicker dough recipe or something, because my dough recipe takes forever. That's the only reason I don't do it more often, because they often do turn out delicious, but they do take a while to make properly.
Yeah, all the dough and everything. Yeah. They had all that pre-prepared for us or whatever, the dough, so we just had to flatten it out and add the toppings.
Yo, I've got dough for yo.
For yo.
For show.
Yeah.
Dough for yo for show. Bro.
We got away from video games again somehow. Back to pizza.
I'll tell you what I discovered this week.
What's that?
My 3DS doesn't play DS games.
Apparently.
What?
So, you know how
Has it never done that?
Well, we don't know. That's the trouble.
This is the first time I've tried, in fairness.
Probably.
Yeah, I reckon. So, yeah. I'm a bit annoyed about that, because I don't think I've ever tried it on this. And this 3DS is not super used. Like, it's not, I wouldn't call it well worn bit of hardware. But, yeah, it just doesn't want to play classic DS games at all. Not classic in the sense of like, I won't play the good games, I'll only play the bad games. But like, I mean, just pre 3 regular DS games. Just won't do it.
When did they get to the point with the DS where you couldn't also plug in a Game Boy Advance game? Like my Lite.
I think all of the DSs had that, right? Even the DSi, I think, still had the Game Boy port on it.
Yes.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't. It would play
because the cartridge just stuck out.
No, GBA carts slotted in nicely, but I don't think they could play Game Boy Color and Game Boys.
Yeah,
they would run GBAs, but not pre that.
Not all the way back. Yeah, you couldn't put in your 1980s Tetris cartridge.
No,
DS.
You could not. No. Yeah, so I tried that.
You could slot it in, but it wouldn't work.
Well, I don't think you could put it in because it had that groove. That's how Nintendo managed their cart management, isn't it? They have their little... Every different cart looks almost exactly the same, but it just has one little extra bit that sticks out slightly differently.
Yeah, just to make it not fit.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Like the DS and the 3DS carts are very similar, but apparently like this isn't actually all that uncommon that 3DSs can't read DS, because the original DS carts are slightly thinner.
Right.
And that could be a problem for getting them to sit nicely in the slot. And sure enough, I can only make this work with one game, and that is Mario Kart DS. And as it turns out, not even my copy of Mario Kart DS. I don't know where this cartridge has come from.
Like as usual.
I'll have to figure that out, because I definitely unlocked everything in that game, and I haven't on this version. Anyway, yeah. With that, if the DS cart has like a clicky thing, so it clicks in.
Yeah.
So if you press it with the DS on and at the menu the 3DS on and at the menu screen, if I press it in and hold it in, like before it clicks back out that little bit, it'll recognize the cartridge and say this is Mario Kart DS. Now, if you're lucky and you very slowly release the cart till it goes into its like properly nested position, it'll stay on and you can play the game and it runs just fine. But most of the time, when it clicks back into its regular position, it'll go. Any other cartridge I've tried doesn't do that. like it's just Mario Kart DS that trick works on. But to be perfectly honest, when I got that game running and I played it for a bit, I'm not super happy with how the 3DS displays DS games. They look, to my eye, a tiny bit blurrier.
Did you set it to not stretched?
There's an option for that?
Yeah, you can make it so that it just black borders, so that it keeps the resolution. Because otherwise, it's basically stretching it widescreen almost.
Oh yeah, it wasn't going widescreen. It was still the ratio of the top and bottom of the screen. It was
I think you can set it to real resolution as well, so it just makes it tiny on the 3DS screen, which is not as helpful.
No, because it didn't look right. Because I noticed, if anything, it looked like it was also applying some sharpening to the image because edges looked wrong. Like there was a little bit of glow around.
Unless you've got a cart tilt problem.
A cart tilt.
Yeah, because it's not making contact correctly, and so you're getting weird glitch.
I don't know. That seems like a very consistent, odd thing. But anyway, I didn't even realize that was an option. I don't know where that would be in the 3DS system, but. Because you can't do it while the game is running.
Well, no, obviously, because it doesn't keep the 3DS UI enabled or whatever.
Okay, I'll have to have a look. But also, I shouldn't have to. I won't have a look because that 3DS doesn't bloody play anything I want to play on it.
Well, I mean, if the theory is the carts are too thin, then stick a few layers of sellotape on the back of the cartridge and see if you can fatten it up slightly or something.
That didn't work either. I did try wedging some paper in there to try and add some. Add some pressure to it because some people have reported putting a bit of pressure on the label side of the cartridge.
Yeah, I guess it's definitely the top side to push the contacts downwards.
Yeah, so that hasn't worked for me either. So I've not been able to get Ridge Racer DS which is basically what I was coming at it for to load up on it. So maybe getting ahead slightly of what I have been playing because I managed to play a single race of Ridge Racer DS on my old DS, my launch DS. The beastly, horrible, ugly silver thing that was. So weird that came out and wasn't really derided for being a weird lunchbox, right? It's such a strange device, that launch DS.
Well, it wasn't that weird. I mean, it was fairly weird.
You liked it, Zach.
Yeah.
No one else liked it. You just liked it.
Well, I don't think there was as much problems with it as people said there was.
I mean, I guess because it's beefier than most DSs, it is
but
it's
you didn't know that at the time.
You didn't know that at the time, no. But in retrospect, it's actually probably more comfortable than most DSs to hold.
Well, it has less sharp edges. Was the thing that I liked about it compared to even the DSIs.
Right. Yeah.
The DSIs had all kinds of sharp edges right on where your hands are.
Yeah. And the light was pretty similar as well. Better constructed devices, but they're not as comfortable to hold. Anyway, I think my old DS was fudged in many ways, and as it turns out, I thought it was just the touchscreen that was balked on it. No, its cart reading is also slightly balked. So I didn't get very far. I got through one race of Ridge Racer DS, and then it just went black and started playing static through the speakers, which is oh, that's new. That's a fun little problem. So anyway, I'm trying to source a DS at the moment. My brother,
that must be relatively straightforward, mustn't it?
I mean, there's plenty about, but they're more expensive than I thought. Still,
oh really?
I was trying to hunt a DSi XL because it's I want the big screen, but you're probably looking about £50. And I thought,
right, okay.
I thought they'd be a little lower than that. 3DSs, by the way, still hold their value. They're still quite pricey. Especially if you want a new 3DS XL, which fortunately is the one I have, but they're still quite valuable. In the hundos. So I just found that interesting. It's I'm going to try and get hold of my own DS replacement because it's annoying having games I can't actually play. That bothers me. I have the physical cartridges. I probably wasn't intending to go back and play all of these, but the fact that I can't play any of them annoys me.
Maybe you should just invest in a ripper and just actually do real emulation, rip your own cards.
Right? Yeah, but then you still got to play that on an emulated platform.
Not actually play it on a real controller.
Yeah, I mean, I could. I don't really want to attempt to mod my 3D. Apparently, modding a DS isn't that difficult. Or
Well, I mean,
putting custom firmware on 3DSs, for instance, not that difficult apparently. But I don't really want to do that. If I was ever going to go down that road, I'd want to keep a clean one and then have one that I'm going to play with.
Sure.
Or you can just get an R4, I suppose, for
Yeah.
the DS, which I don't think they're cheap either. If you
Probably
want
not.
if you want an R4 cart, they're not cheap. For all your piracy needs, or play my own damn game needs. Anyway, that's my my DSBS. Just what you should know.
Okay.
Just what you should know.
I mean, that's your
my
hardware news.
It's my non-news news.
Have we got any industry news?
There's a little bit of news, but not a lot. It's gone quiet, as you might expect after
theoretical E3.
Yeah.
After not E3. Yeah.
Not E3, yeah. Nay, free.
I think it'll be not E3 forever now because E3 won't come back, but everyone will refer to it as E3.
Yeah, I wonder how long that will last. Like it won't continue to be called E3.
Well, like by us, because
by
people who are old enough to know,
yeah.
we'll continue to call it that probably forever.
Yeah, I suppose the younger game journalists.
I mean,
drop it quickly enough.
We won't literally call it E3. We'll call it traditional E3 time or whatever.
Yeah, Summer of Games. But then
doesn't mean we no longer have an E3 special episode, which we did.
Yes, kind of. Yeah.
Well, we probably can't. I don't really want to call it the Summer Game Fest period either, because that's not. I mean, it's brand. Summer Game Fest is fine branding, but it doesn't roll off the tongue as quickly. Like, what are we going to call it? We're in FGF season. Let's go. We're in Scuf. Suguf. Happy Suguf, everyone. Microsoft have won their court battle against the FTC.
Well, not really won.
Well, they've won a part of it.
They've won an appeal, I guess.
The FTC are not able. Well, the FTC lost their ability to make that preliminary injunction that we mentioned a podcast or two ago. Yeah, which is basically a delay in the delay the deal so the FTC could do more to solidify their position, I guess. But that has been denied because the court effectively ruled that the evidence the FTC might be looking into states that the acquisition is anti-competitive, especially on the front of Call of Duty. Court basically said, no, we think the evidence points the other way. Like, the Call of Duty will actually be more available on other platforms as a result of this. Therefore,
like
screw
the Switch.
like
Apparently.
maybe the Switch. Yeah. So you're wrong. So they have denied the request. I guess it doesn't necessarily mean the FTC won't file for reals to block it. It's just
I
that
guess.
but because this is only preliminary delays rather than an actual we're blocking this call.
But they must be pretty close to running out of time.
Yeah. Well, supposedly, it's like the next couple of days is supposed to be like July 19th, I think was the date I read somewhere that is supposed to be the closing date. And it's like, have they actually got any time left to do anything? But also, it's going to run longer than that because the CMA's position is still blocking the deal, right? The UK CMA is still not.
Yeah, but I don't know how that would affect like the FTC's thing, because the whole way the FTC specifically system works is like they have to. It's literally a countdown rather than there just being it's not when the deal completes. It's a countdown from when you first hear about the deal that you have to do things as the FTC,
like when it's announced.
So if it passes that point and they haven't done anything, that's like them. It's basically assumed that then they're fine with the deal.
Yeah.
Like if they don't try and block it, then clearly it's okay. That's how it works in the FTC system. But I'm pretty sure that's on a countdown rather than related to the actual timing of the deal.
Okay. So if surely there must have been enough time on this countdown then for if the deal to be delayed, that countdown was running from announcement. There must be enough time.
Well, I assume that
With the delay in
countdown
mind.
presumably must like reset or extend if there's like
If the
alterations
injunction
to the
happens.
deal or whatever,
Maybe, yeah.
that kind of thing. Because I mean, obviously, otherwise there'd be a huge loophole where you could say one deal right at the start and
Then
then
bring
wait
it
for the
forward and
FTC to approve that and then completely change the deal before it actually goes through.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess that's true. No, it's like, this was not approved. Why? How could you do that? Yeah, I guess that's true. Anyway, but that's interesting news. Microsoft.
So the UK CMA
Sorry, carry on.
thing is like got a new deadline of the 29th of August. They've extended it 6 weeks after them altering the deal,
Yeah.
apparently. Which
Well,
might involve like Microsoft selling off the cloud market rights for games in the UK in order to get around the UK issue.
I mean, maybe, but why would they? I don't know how that. Well, it probably doesn't. I don't know how that would work. Is what I'm trying to say. I don't quite get, like, if they sold off that part of the business, does that mean it would be? Because the whole point is that it's like linked into Game Pass, right? At the moment,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Game Pass grants you access to it. So what would it be a Microsoft run thing, but it just couldn't be associated with Game Pass? Is that the thing?
It doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Anyway,
I don't quite know how that would solve the problem.
I think they'll find a way to make it work, right?
Or they would
Basically.
just turn it off in the UK, and it's like, well, sod you.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could well be.
Yeah. It's like, fine, we'll just back out of streaming in the UK completely, and like we'll put COD on PlayStation now, or whatever it's called these days, PlayStation Plus, something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get how that's gonna pan out. Yeah, CMA are the last hurdle basically to the deal going through. Everything else is mostly clear.
Yeah, as soon as the
point.
FTC doesn't come up with something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly clean. Don't fully understand the sort of Congress backlash against the FTC for this, because it's like,
Well, what you read the tweet earlier, and it used the word Biden in the tweet, and then that tells you everything, doesn't it?
well, I guess,
Yeah.
I guess
It's a clearly politically motivated thing.
the Republicans just having some beef at the Biden government, right? Because that's what they want to do. I
And
guess.
also, I guess, like, you know, the Republicans are the business political party, right? So, you know, if there's something that's going to block a business deal, it's
Yeah.
automatically bad
Sure.
on some level.
Anti-capitalist, man. And it's like, well, I mean, to some extent, it is anti-pure capitalism, but also, like, you know what? It's there to keep capitalism alive, right?
Well, that's always the problem with monopolies.
Yeah.
How close do you let it get to being a monopoly?
It's breaking your own fundamentals when it becomes a monopoly. Got to protect it. Anyway, I think that's the situation. I don't think I've missed anything.
That's it for now. No.
Anything
That'll do for
important? Major Nelson's leaving Xbox amidst all this. Not
not related,
not
presumably.
related, no. I mean, he's been working for Xbox for over 2 decades at this point, and I think 15 years of those are in a public-facing role.
Right.
That's a long,
Community guy.
yeah, it's a long time. It's a long time in this business, anyway.
What's he been doing lately in that role, though?
I don't know who else has been doing a community role for a company, you know, as being like the face, I suppose, of the community for. Who is that for PlayStation? Like, who is that for Nintendo these days? Has that ever been a role for those companies?
Well,
that
not
fills
for
that?
Nintendo. Nintendo don't care about their community, really, on that level.
No, the closest Nintendo got with that stuff was when they had regular Treehouse presenters.
Yeah.
But even that got shaken up, right? That's not really... Is Treehouse even a thing now?
Don't know.
Don't think it is. So yeah, I would say it's a long time to be in
Well,
there.
I was more saying that, like, can you tell it's a long time in this business? Because has this whole business been around long enough for there to be, like, what is the longest time yet? Like this might be the first one that's expired.
The first time it's been possible. You mean?
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, maybe that's true. Anyway, good on you, Larry Herb. I don't know. He's a bit of a face. He's a proper.
Yeah.
He's a recognisable figure. So it's a slight shame to see him go. He hasn't said what he's doing next. He just sort of labelled it as it's time for the next step in my career. So he's not stepping. Mm-hmm. He's not retiring, but
maybe
from work generally. But he might be retiring from the industry. But yeah, we don't know at this point. But yeah, fair play. Also, I would just always remember the "yeah, boy" he did. An extremely long "yeah, boy." It was good stuff. What else is happening? Is that pretty much it, really?
That's going on. Yeah. I did see that there's a TF2 update, but it's mainly bug fixes and stuff. But it did seem to result in like a massive number of people jumping back into TF2 to the point where it broke the record for some reason.
What?
I don't know if it's necessarily like a massive number jumping back in specifically for this patch. I mean, they had slightly built up this patch as being bigger than all the other bug fixing patches that have been happening recently, but
yeah.
But like, I'm not sure. I think it might have just been on the rise.
It's only really been maintenance mode for years, hasn't it? Like,
sure, but like the last year or two, they've been doing more actual patches and like, well, basically within the last 2 years, the Steam community whatever posts have been like they've actually been making posts mostly about like community tournaments or whatever.
Sure, yeah,
just advertising those.
I feel like those never stopped, but maybe that's just...
It's been way more prevalent in the last couple of years, for sure. But then, like, along with that has been a lot of bug fixing happening again for some reason. Still haven't, ever resolved the bot problem, but now that there's enough players, it will, like, the bots will become less obvious.
It won't last, though, will it? Yeah, I don't think it'll last.
No. Maybe it's because... Maybe it's one of those like self-fulfilling things, like where the wave has got people like, oh shit, does that mean I can actually play TF2
again?
Exactly. And so they go in and have a quick blast. But yeah, you're right, it won't last. It will fade back again. But
and when you say it broke the record, it's like the record of the last 5 years or whatever. It's not
so it's not the
all-time record.
I mean, if it was like over the last 5 years, and it's like, sure, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it. Yeah, evidently it's not.
But then online gaming is much bigger than it used to be, and it's constantly growing.
And so TF2 is free, I suppose.
Yeah. If you've done anything to claw people away from the Fortnites of the world, you've done all right.
But it's not like it was advertised. Like they didn't suddenly bring everyone back in by being like putting YouTube adverts or something for Team Fortress or anything.
If Team Fortress 3 existed today, like if they announced a TF3, but they won't because Valve is afraid of 3.
Yeah.
Would it do well? Would it? I'm not sure it would. Like, I'd be hype for getting back into some modern TF, but built as well as Overwatch, say. As Overwatch 1, I'm not going to hold my judgment about Overwatch 2. Still never played it.
I'd be enthusiastic about it if it was, still that kind of game, and they didn't try and make it like Overwatch or any of the other. If they'd stick to, what is at this point like basically Quake Deathmatch but fancied up. It's like that's kind of what I want.
I mean, I'm still trying. Like, it was ever since Overwatch came out, I'm still trying to narrow down. I think what your opinion of that is. What is it about Overwatch that is not that to you?
It's the whole heroes thing, right? It's like
but then TF is heroes.
Yeah, but it's not really. It's like that's classes and heroes are different because the heroes is the skills rather than the guns, right?
To some extent, like the heroes have unique guns too.
Yeah, but they don't. They have like a gun. Well, no, sometimes they have two, I suppose.
Well, they have a secondary.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But it's not really the same where everything is based on that. Like in TF, all you have is the guns, and sometimes the guns give you a ability of some kind, I guess.
I mean, there are variants for the primaries, right? As
Sure.
well.
Yeah, but that mostly only changes the like shooting profile, not like how you play the class or anything. Apart from the medic's case, I guess that's the one kind of exception where it majorly changes the whole mechanics of the class.
Well, is that true? Because like if you're playing the soldier one where you have to blast them into the air first and then shotgun them out of the air, that's a different play style to if you're just rocketing them in the face with like the
Not super different though, because you're still really aiming rockets at people's feet because that's how the soldier plays.
I mean, I guess, but then I suppose you're right. Is it you've lament? Well, because Overwatch doesn't really have loadouts. Like a hero is a hero.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Is that what you lament on that front? Really, is that?
Well, and because then the solution to that lack of content is to add more heroes, which is not. I don't think that you're better off making loadouts. That's why Team Fortress worked better for me because it's still the same class. You still have the base movement stuff. That's all the same. It's just the guns that change. You don't have to have an entirely different character. Not like the characters in Overwatch have like super different movement profiles. Mostly,
yeah.
They got the slow ones and the fast ones.
Yeah, the one and the occasional one that can climb a bit more, or has flight, I suppose.
But I think maybe the actual problem is cooldowns, right? There's just like.
There's cooldowns, yeah. That's not really a thing in TF, is it? There's no such.
Well, yeah, it's just like you get the occasional power bar or whatever that sometimes they charge up, and sometimes there is a cooldown. I suppose, like
is there?
Like the bonk or whatever, the drink. You have a limited time limit, and it's a cooldown after you've used it.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Oh,
and like the crit cola, same thing, and then
course.
like the charged version of that off the gun.
Yeah, that is the same thing. Yeah, that is the same thing.
It's the same thing, but there's generally only like one.
Yeah, there's not many
per class.
There's not many, I suppose.
You're
not building an ultimate,
apart from the medic, obviously, but that's a different thing. The Uber,
of course. Yeah, it's the same game.
It is, but it's not.
Basically, you want more Southern American styling, is what you're saying. You want some more twangy guitars.
Well, I mean, it would be nice.
Trumpets.
It would be nice if the styling of TF2 had survived, but that's never going to go back.
It didn't.
No game maintains its own style now. Really,
no.
Maybe Splatoon's pulled it off,
Apparently
but its own style was mad anyway.
Well, I mean, there's less external influence on the style of Splatoon.
Splatoon is just cloves.
Yeah. If Splatoon got as popular as Overwatch, it would not maintain its style.
Yeah, it would be what happened with TF2. As soon as you get the crossover, where now you can have
exactly
the Deus Ex guns in TF2, and it's like, well, that's just fucked everything.
Would Nintendo ever do that though?
No, but that's why Splatoon survives.
What's the best
the AirPods?
What game works best that does do that? What game is best? Maybe it's
Fortnite, basically. Where they can just throw anything in there.
Oh, but Fortnite
is everything. Fortnite is the Super Smash Brothers ultimate of shooters.
Yeah.
It's Super Smash Brothers ultimate.
Super Smash manages to keep something, though, doesn't it? It's not a total, because Super Smash Brothers is designed from the beginning to have all those crazy characters in there and still somehow maintain a consistent
look
in some ways.
Yeah.
But
that's what Fortnite does as well, basically. It's like the stuff they put into Fortnite is stylized in the Fortnite style.
As much as I hate to admit it, Fortnite does have a style. It might not be a good style, but it has a style.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of...
But I think it's, because it's designed from the start for that style to be adaptable to...
Well, not from the start, but when they realise that they do that, yes.
When they were onto it, yeah. I mean, there is a definite... I'm going to use your most hated football parlance. There is a definite quality to Fortnite's work, even if you're not into that style, right? They do.
Oh yeah,
they put effort into that jazz, and you can see it.
Clearly, the one that succeeds the most is Rocket League because they're just cars. You can't fail at putting a car into a car game.
That's true. You can put anything you want in there as long as it's a car and it'll be fine.
Even if it's a Transformer.
Well, I mean, that's even better.
Yep.
Yeah, drive.
Yeah, it's probably ideal for that, right?
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
It's much more limited scope, obviously, but can't really fail.
I mean, Lego, but there's never really been a single Lego game that's done it all right. I suppose they were aiming for that with Lego Dimensions, but that never really made it.
But Lego is like the opposite end of the scale, where it's the style of Lego overtakes everything else.
Yeah. Lego.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if the thing you're putting into the game isn't Lego enough, we'll make it Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that end of news?
Yeah, I think it might be end of news.
End of news that barely contained news, and we talked about other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I've been playing some Fortnite.
It's time for what you've been playing.
I played a little bit of Fortnite.
God damn it.
Oh, yeah?
I played a little bit of Fortnite with Kippers.
How was it?
It is...
Still the same.
It's a mess, but I have a good time. That's the weird thing about Fortnite is like, I don't understand it. I'm not sure I'll ever understand it. It's a messy game, but I do kind of have a good time. I can't deny it. I'm just baffled every time I boot that thing up. Like the Wilds update is the most recent thing, and so you get like these intros to be like, oh look, there's this new area and there's these things, and you can grind rails and stuff now, and it's like you're like whoa, and then I'm like, okay, fine. Then you actually get to the menu of the game, and neither Kippers or I could figure out for ages how we play the game.
Well, that's not necessarily. That's probably intentional. That's
like,
probably make people spend longer looking at the store pages kind of design decision.
There's like a play tab at the top, so you go to the play tab, and that's how you sort your party out. But then the thing we really struggled with is like when because we wanted to just go. We're into zero build. We don't like the building mechanics in Fortnite, and then we're so grateful that zero build has been kind of promoted to be just a main thing, to the point where there was even a survey in game to be like, how do you feel about the building? And I could say I don't like it. Even Fortnite are recognizing that not everyone likes the build stuff that made Fortnite, which is cool, actually. So we clicked on the thing that you think is like, it says there's no game mode selected, so you hover over this box and it says change, and you click it, and what it then presented us with is this whole massive page of what I guess is community generated just stuff. And I was just sort of staring at this screen, going, "But where's the Fortnite, yo? How do I just play Battle Royale? Where do I play the game? I don't want it." In the end, neither of us actually properly figured it out. Kip has found a link to the zero build mode in a sort of marketing page inside the game. He clicked like a banner ad for it, and it's like, you can join a zero build game. So he clicked that, and it's like, okay, great, cool. And that got it into that box, and we could start a game. And it's like, that is so weird to me. They make it so difficult to find how to play the game.
Yeah,
just have like some kind of search tag system, whereas if you like put like official or something in there, so then it would filter out only for the official game modes, and then maybe you could see it or something.
I mean, I guess that page is like designed for where all of the like, or presumably where all of the like Unreal Editor for Fortnite stuff is going to end up going, right? Oh, yeah. When it's more than just maps and silly modes, and it's going to, yeah, I guess they've made a place for it, but yeah, I don't know. That interface is. That game is baffling. It's pretty impenetrable, but as I said before, somehow I had a good time. It's starting to run a bit crap on my PC. Is the other thing. It's like, yeah, it's pretty scalable, and you can start turning it down. But on its recommended settings, I think it's got like little load lags all over the place. Like it's having little stream issues on my PC now or something. So when like people are jumping out the back of the battle bus, for instance, there's like a little hitch every time someone jumps out. And there's just little hitches everywhere as you're traversing the environment. So I've scaled back some of my settings so it's below its recommended a little bit. Raw frame rate isn't a huge problem. I'm still in the 80s to 100s on my aging PC.
Oh, that's good.
But it's just the hitches, right? It's like the raw frame rate isn't a problem, but it's got loading hitches, so that's a bit of a problem. I've never really figured out how the shooting works in that game, and I think Kippers struggles with it as well, because it's like towards the end game we can be doing pretty well in a round, like we play duos, zero build, and so after a while we can feel like we're doing pretty well. We'll have killed some guys, and it's like just killing a guy is an achievement in that game, sometimes in any battle royale game, and it's just like, yeah, we got some dudes, and we're feeling pretty good about our loot. And our station will be like fully healthed up and fully shielded up, and we're like, yeah, this is going pretty well. We're in with a chance. And then we'll get one shot by some guy with a shotgun at 50 feet away, and it's like, okay, how did you do that? Like, you're using a shotgun at reasonable range, and it just downed us in one hit. And I don't know. That's not how that game ever feels like it works when I'm shooting at people. You see the damage numbers coming off, and they're in like the 30s with some shot with how much damage I'm doing to someone on hit, and it's like, how have you done over like 200 in a shot? I don't. But of course, the game's not going to teach me like why that was a thing, like, or how they did that.
Yeah, how do you look back and see what happened? Or
I've got no idea. It's like, as I say, it's just the mechanics of that game are just so impenetrable, and it's
well, surely you're meant to just spectate that guy, right? Because it automatically spectates the guy that kills you.
It spectates him afterwards, yeah. If your squad's out, then it will swap the camera to the person who killed you. But then usually,
how much does that UI actually tell you much?
No, very little. It will tell you what they were using, what gun they were using. And it's like, a lot of the time they are using a strong gun, but it's not always something that I would look at and go, oh, that's an amazing weapon. Sometimes it's a mythic, and I don't really know how you acquire those. Like, how do you acquire? Yeah, we get like good gear, but not like the best gear. Don't know how you achieve those. I think maybe you actually have to sort of do some of the weird stuff on the map, like engage with some of the map specific areas and the quests and all that stuff you can actually do with. That's secondary to playing the battle royale game, and maybe that's how you get the better stuff. I have no idea. Game does not explain itself. But usually what happens is you get into a firefight with someone, they kill you, and then they immediately get murdered by someone else who's just gate crashed the party afterwards. And it's like, so I never really get to see how that guy's playing. Or, you're in a party and you're impatient, so you ready up and play again. Though fortunately you can at least ready up whilst you're still spectating a guy, so that's kind of neat. I like that. You can still watch what was happening to the
rest of that game,
the previous match, whilst you're matchmaking for the next one.
Oh, that's good.
Which is, I think that's nice. Yeah. Anyway, Fortnite. There's something to it. I just don't know what that is. It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing. And you really do have to pay money if you want to look anything like just a guy in combat gear. That's the problem. You have to. There is no free progression, really. Like, it's all about spending money, which is a shame. There should be more free stuff.
I guess that's just the way it's built these days, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be more free stuff. Yeah, what else have we done? I'm putting off the Zelda conversation because we'll use that for massive segues, I suppose. My Dreamcast is out of the loft. And I've been playing 2001 banger Daytona USA 2001. You can tell because it's got 2001 in the title.
But how long could you possibly have played that for?
I've played it quite a bit. Because I actually, like, there's like I forget how many cars you can unlock for it, but like it was never quite uncertain. On my save file for this, it lists the 4 cars you start with, and then there was a gap, and then there was the car I had unlocked in an awkward place, and it's like, oh, there must be more. There's plenty more to do with this. I just don't know how to do it. It's one of those. It doesn't tell you how to do things. It doesn't tell you what you need to, what the conditions are for unlocking more cars. So I randomly fired up 3.7 Speedway, got myself a good, apparently the best time I've ever raced it on like my first or second go. Like, so I guess I've got better at racing games since I was playing this.
What a surprise!
And then unlocked a car immediately. It was just like, okay, great, cool. It's a car I'll never use, but it's added to the list. So now it's got me intrigued. I'm like, hey, what else can I do in this game? How do I unlock all the other stuff? And I haven't looked up the FAQ for how to do it, so I'm just driving races. That's a weird game. I'm not gonna lie. Like the handling in this version of Daytona is generally regarded as twitchy and a bit oversensitive, and I can't help but agree. It is a tricky game to control. Like it's just super easy to get into a state where your car is sort of like seemingly steering of its own accord in the wrong direction, and how you get out of it is doesn't feel quite right. The drifting doesn't feel like anything like how you'd expect, and it's hard to gauge what your like turning circle is going to be in the middle of a drift. Like it feels like the game is way more technical than you would expect, I guess is what I'm saying. Like for an arcade racer, it's like it's not like a Criterion game where you just hold down the brake for a bit and then you end up in a power slide. You could do that at full speed whilst boosting as you can in Burnout. It's not that. You actually do have to sort of properly slow to a correct speed and then drift round a corner. And if you don't get that speed right, you're probably going to go off the edge of the corner. It's a surprisingly technical racer. And it's hard as balls. Man, I think that's why I love it. It's like it's a type of game they don't, like I keep saying about all these retro games I go back. It's a type of game they just don't make anymore. Like the handling isn't realistic in any possible way, but it doesn't handhold you at all. And the difficulty of the game is the game. Like you keep going until you get better times or until you get a better ranking in the it's not uncommon to finish a race and it say you placed 15th and you're like, well, fuck. But at least I got round the course in the time limit. That kind of stuff. So there's the epic amounts of room to improve, and it's fun to try and improve. And I kind of miss that in racing games. It's not something I've necessarily engaged with for a really long time, and I'm hoping Forza Motorsport, when that comes out, captures some of that spirit in me again. Like there's something nice sometimes about not being flooded with options that you just go, well, I'm going to go onto this track and this car, and now I'm going to go onto this track and this car immediately, and not stick around and try and actually skill up. But this is scratching that itch for me in quite a good way. So I'm enjoying it. I had got my Dreamcast out of the loft because I ordered a copy of Hydro Thunder off eBay, but unfortunately it doesn't work. Disc is in too much of a state of disrepair to actually run on my Dreamcast. So we'll come back. We'll come back to Hydro Thunder at a later date when I can acquire another copy. I guess that's just the risk, I suppose, with disc-based games. Don't always come out ideal. So I've been doing a bit of that. Daytona USA. Yeah, also, like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, I fired it up, and, like, Gnome was watching me play it for a bit, and I just couldn't help but, like, comment on, like, this is the most aggressively 90s thing. Like,
so 90s.
Even though it came out in 2001, there's just, like, it's maximum cheese. And I guess, like, all Sega games of that era were kind of that, right? Like, down to the sort of to the cheesy I don't even know what you call that style of rock music. Like, it's not really American rock. It's just there's a it's just cheese. It's the cheesiest rock you can think of. Like that's just what
it's like bleeds into the kind of it's akin to the Sonic the Hedgehog modern 3D Sonic J-rock thing.
Kinda,
right?
yeah.
But it's related, not the same. But Yeah.
It's like some of the track music is just doesn't feel like it should be in a racing game. Like it's almost like it's a commercial or a brochure, or like a brochure for a holiday resort. Sometimes, like it's strange, but for the most part, it works. They also like throw in like I think like most of the music in this has been like redone, so it's a bit more. So the quality of the production is slightly higher, but it's still like the original songs from the arcade and the various releases it got on Saturn and PC and stuff like that. So, but during the menus, like during the main menu, it would occasionally play like the retro versions of the songs from the arcade version, and you see like, oh yeah, these were quite rough when the games like originally came out. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, Daytona you say. It's a fun game. They don't make them like this anymore. Not even Sega make them like this anymore. Not even them. But that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. And sort of in a similar sort of like way, a similar sort of way I wanted that feeling from Daytona USA. I thought I need another throwaway game I can play on a modern console, just for a short burst. So I fired up NFS Unbound, which is the most recent Need for Speed game.
What's it called?
NFS Unbound.
NFS Unbound. Okay.
This was the return of Criterion, like as a named lead studio, which I don't think has been a thing since Need for Speed Rivals. If I remember correctly, I don't remember like Criterion being the lead studio on a game since then, and that's a long time ago. And you can tell this game feels like a Criterion game, like the way it drives and the way. I'm just going to say it. Like this game oozes style. Like it's.
But is it style that makes sense? Unlike that other game that we made a video of.
I actually think it works.
Okay.
I think it nails it completely. So it leans super hard into like the old Need for Speed sort of underground like vibe, right? So, thick modern hip hop, I guess, beats and graffiti everywhere, and cars covered in decals, however that's pronounced, and just really leaning into that urban vibe, and I think they nail it. Like I actually
really, brilliant.
I think I actually love the idea that they decided to lean on it. Like the main game is a story mode. Like it has actually got a story that's working for me in it, and I love the fact that they decided to not just stylize the world a little bit. The most obvious thing being like there's like graffiti effects around the car whilst you're racing. Like the drift smoke that comes out the back is super exaggerated and like almost like a Jet Set Radio kind of plume. And then when you do a jump, there's these big graffiti wings get drawn on screen that come out of your car, and sometimes they've got big air written on. It's a rad look. It looks great in motion. But even the characters in the storyline, they've decided to cell shade the characters in this world. So like at the start of every race, you get a look of like your rival's guy like doing some sort of action in the driver's seat, and then it shows your guy just sort of. In my case, my guy seems to have massive lips, so the whole time he seems like he's just pouting at the camera. So he's just like, no,
oh man,
which is great. It looks real stupid, but I'm into it, and it's You'd think it would clash a little bit from like the realistic look of Need for Speed, but like hyper neoned and stuff like that. And then every human in the game is then a cell shaded character within it. But I think it works. I think it works really well, and I think they've struck the right tone for Need for Speed. But I also think the structure is fun. So the game plays. The story mode plays out in like you leave the garage and you enter the open world. So I'm guessing getting the feeling of like, I guess Most Wanted, I guess was the last one we played that had the sort of open world. You played it, didn't you, Zach? Need for Speed Most Wanted.
Like 2 races.
Oh, did you? I thought you finished that thing. The red and white Criterion one with all the weird like intro videos and stuff like that. Oh, really? Oh, I thought
we played it pretty much just for the amount that we videoed it.
Oh, wow. I thought okay. I'm wrong about that. But anyway, you leave the garage and you go to a meetup and you join a race, and there might be a buy-in on the race. The whole point in the game is to try and earn enough money so you can get better cars, so you can enter a better set of big money races, and to get back at your once friend who double-crossed you years ago and basically caused your garage to nearly shut down and things like that. So there's an impetus for you doing what you do. And so you go out into the world, you do these meetups, but whilst you're driving around and going to those places, you might get like extra jobs to go pick up a fast car and go deliver them, and then they result in little challenges that you do in the world, and these normally come frequently, like maybe one a day. But the fact that I mentioned day there is kind of important. So the idea is you go out and you do a session when in the world, and a session can be any number of races that you feel confident enough in doing, because if you do events, your heat level with the cops increases.
Oh,
so it has a star rating, a bit like GTA, essentially. So it's like they're fire, and like you get 1 fire or 2 fire. But as your heat level increases, the cops get more violent, and you have to make it back to a safe house in order to bank your winnings for the session. And then when you do that and you get home, you get your winnings, and and then time progresses in the week, and it flip flops between day and night cycles. But you have to go through both a day and then a night to clear your heat. So if you bank everything you did during the day, but you've still got the heat level overnight, and overnight you get bigger money challenges. So there's a fun balance between doing enough in a day that you feel confident that you've done well, but then to be able to also last the night, because if you've got heat at the end of a race, you tend to end up in a cop chase, and then you've got to do a classic, I've got to get away from the cops, and I've found those pretty difficult, actually. The cops are no slouch. Like, really? They can cool. I've already managed to get up to a heat level 4 in a bog class, I'm going to call it, like one of the lowest class vehicles in the game, and got up into a pretty nasty cop chase because I just couldn't evade them or make the cop chase end. And it was exhilarating because this cop chase went on for fucking ages. And like just trying to run from the cops, and it was great. I was just like the anxiety of like, oh shit, I'm going to lose everything I've done. And that would have been, I would have turned around and said this is the worst game mechanic ever had I been captured. But because I didn't, and I did eventually get out of the situation, albeit through a glitch.
All right, okay.
It kind of glitched out on me and worked out to my advantage. But I had a great time up to that point. It was. This game's pretty good.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I mean,
the glory days return.
Yeah, I don't know if I could have ever really felt like I could.
Well.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever really could have felt like I'd say that about a Need for Speed game for ages. None of them have really seemed appealing, but this one seems to land it.
So when did this one come out then?
Last year.
Right.
I want to say sort of middle of last year-ish.
Unbound, so cool.
But yeah, well, it's turned up on EA Play, so which is why I'm playing it.
Is that what made you play it?
Yeah. So yeah, you can get it through your Game Pass Ultimate on Xbox. Yeah, so I thought I'd give it a punt, and I'm surprisingly in. I kind of wasn't. I was expecting it just to have a quick blast and be a bit throwaway, but it's hooking me. It's good.
If you end up in epically long cop chase territory, it's not going to be a quick blast of a game either.
It's definitely not. It's not filling that role, no, because you have to worry about the session. The session is a period of time you've got to invest. But then, yeah, and as I say, those sessions can run a little long. Like doing a single race isn't really a thing.
So how do you find all the kind of cel-shaded cartoon effects and stuff? Are they?
I think they're brilliant. I think it fits the vibe because they're not just happening on your car; they're happening on all the other street racers' cars as well. So when they're drifting around corners, you're getting like various weirdly coloured smoke coming out the back, and when they're using their nitrous, they get there's a little extra flourish that comes out of the cars, and I think it looks really good. Personally, it's like it's a unique touch, and on what is a fairly boring genre, I guess. Need for Speed is, and just driving games in general. Just I don't know that there's been a huge amount of flair in them for a long time. why it's hard to get excited about The Crew 3 or honestly or whatever that game. It's not called The Crew 3, is it? It's got some other name like Crew Kings. I don't know. The Crew. Or even then, if there was another Forza Horizon on the horizon, there would have been. It's hard to hard to be excited for because I know it's just going to be another one of those. But that's where I think this found a way.
That's really good to hear that, because I thought that like Criterion might be a shell of its former self at this point and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like they're still making good driving games.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I wouldn't say the handling is quite what you'd expect, like in a similar way to Daytona, but not at all in a similar way.
It's not quite like Daytona, yeah.
But yeah, not at all in a similar way. Like the way drifts work, it's not like you can like go into the endless drifts like you could in Burnout or something like that. You couldn't go into the way the car handling it even sort of encourages you to have perhaps experiment with a balance between, like, you can drive grip style if you want. You don't have to drift everywhere. There's a weirdly cars like once you upgrade them enough, you're in the ability to sort of shift how they handle between grip and drift styles, and that's it's just a left right slider on that. So
cool.
So I'm playing mostly drift style, but so yeah, if you wanted to like get fine lines down, you could, and drive it like a proper driving game if you moved everything into grip style. But it's a pretty forgiving handling model. But also, yeah, it's in a weird place somewhere between arcade and sim. It's more arcade than sim, but maybe a bit more realistic feeling than you might expect. I like it. I think it's a good game. I'm surprised to hear myself say that.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Two thumbs fresh from Rob Review.
Don't know about 2 thumbs. Maybe still 1 thumb.
One on the knuckle. Yeah, so there's that. Before we segue into Zelda, Zach and I tried one other thing.
Yep.
Which might be a segue to Zach.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I guess.
We've played Deep Rock Galactic, the board game.
Oh, board game news. Finally, you've been waiting for this for like how long?
Friggin' ages. It's been a
Kickstarter.
It's been a very long Kickstarter.
Well, it wasn't really the Kickstarter's fault as much as the
UK
international
tax.
shipping fault.
Yeah, they ran into some trouble getting shipping to the UK because of tax and Brexit. Basically, Brexit has screwed up procedures, and they had not accounted for it. I love politics, but on the plus side, and maybe I'm biased because this thing wasn't all that cheap, so I want it to be good. But I think it's good. I might need Zach's outside opinion on this. Like, the rules maybe could have done with being slightly better defined.
I mean, that's like all board games ever.
Yeah, there's definitely
all of this grade of board game anyway.
There's definitely some ambiguity in the wording in places, and you're just like, well, we're gonna have to make a judgment on what we think it means. But I think it works pretty well. Honestly, it's more complicated than I was expecting, actually. Like, and not in a bad way. It does all kind of come together, but there's definitely more of a learning curve to it than I was expecting. But that's kind of cool because that actually keeps us in, I suppose. That keeps us wanting to go back and do a bit more of it. And for those that don't know, the Deep Rock Galactic board game is basically a up to 4-player co-op survival game where you like the video game, you drop into a cave, you have to mine or collect a certain amount of materials and survive against the enemies that are coming at you. You have a time limit in which to achieve your mission, and you also need to not die. If you want the success rating at the end, everyone needs to get back alive. And it's sort of mission based in the book, so there's plenty of different ways to play it. There's randomized elements to it. There's a lot of player agency, I guess is the right way to describe it. Like, what you do really does matter into how that plays out, not just the random events. You have a lot of power over the situation. And I think I think it's a fun time. I have to get you in, Dan. I have to get you in.
I could play some board game for sure.
Yeah. And it's very well made. The pieces are all lovely. I've got the deluxe editions, all the like massive. Some of the oppressor in particular is a massive model miniature thing. It's and that's all really nice. Gnome has threatened to paint some of it, so we'll see. I'll see if I let her loose on that. I don't trust myself to paint any of that stuff. It'll be a disaster. But yeah,
you need a steady hand, don't you, to paint? You need that's basically the skill of Warhammer, isn't it?
Mate,
it's nothing to do with
yeah.
The board game. It's all about
it's all about the beautification of those miniatures, and it's like that's a hell of a skill. I really respect people that go to the effort of doing that, and it's I know a few, and it's like respect. It's a skill.
I think it's just a past hobby. You just spend infinite hours doing it,
sure,
or whatever, and you get good at it.
Yeah, no, it's good. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. The only thing I don't know at this point is like what their plans are for actually putting the game out to the masses. They have kind of said that the standard edition will at least get a mass release. So that's the version where none of the miniatures are actually like plastic models. They're cardboard cutouts you put on little stands, which, in fairness, might actually be more visually recognizable because they're coloured in bits of,
Well, I mean, when they're unpainted.
Yeah.
And also
and a much smaller box.
Well, there's that.
Because the box is enormous.
And also maybe a few cases where they'll fit next to each other on the board slightly better, because obviously they have attempted to design around that, like certain, like the way the oppressor is tilted up to the side to allow you to essentially put things next to it.
But yeah, they're because they're chunky ass models, they might sort of break out of their box, I suppose, quite a bit. So I don't know quite how it's going to be attainable in the future. They've already announced a Kickstarter for 2 expansion packs for it, though.
Were those part of the original Kickstarter?
No, there was a miniature, what they called the miniature expansion, which adds the goo bomber to the event, the random events that can come up. Doesn't actually add missions or anything like that. It just adds it to the event pool of things that can happen. Which now I'm happy with the game. I now want and kind of regret not adding it on as part of the thing. But yeah, they've already announced they're going to do another Kickstarter for expansions to it to add more mechanics and biomes and more cave structures. So I'm already hyped for that, and we've only played it a couple of times. So it's like I played it with Gnome once, and I played it with Zach once, and it's it's good. It's good. I like it. Good job, Deep Rock, continuing
Great
to deliver.
Job.
What an IP. And that's me. I'm done.
Cool. We've done the retro.
You're not technically done.
New games.
I'm not technically done.
Because we've still got the same
games. I could talk about it. Yeah, we could just talk Zelda now if you want.
As usual.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean,
I'm sure that's your game, Zach.
Well, one of them, yes.
I think my discovery rate in Zelda has dramatically reduced.
Okay, but why?
I don't know. Like I just feel like I'm not finding very interesting stuff. Is it just because I'm skirting the edges of Eldin and it's not very interesting? Like I feel like I'm
back.
Yeah, I'm not
it's kind of sparse up there.
Yeah, I'm not finding many caves. I'm not finding many unique events. I mean, the underpants guys were funny, at least. Vaguely interesting. I don't know. I just not sure I'm really discovering stuff of interest at the moment, particularly. Found another Dragon's Tear event,
right?
Conveniently, the one. Did we talk about this on the last podcast? Where I came across the thing at one of those memories that referenced other memories that I hadn't yet watched.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about that on the podcast, but yeah. So the thing Zach mentioned, I think a podcast or two ago.
Except when we had,
but it wasn't the same scene.
Yeah. When I went to look at it, I realised that it was actually a different tier. That it's like the one that Rob had found also does that, where it uses clips from other scenes, but it's actually like a lesser version of the one that I was talking about. Right. The one that I was talking about does it much worse.
Right. So I've yet to see that one.
No.
But yeah, so I have now found the scene that was in that scene that I had not yet seen.
Oh, right. So you've been and done that?
Yeah.
Okay. Without the game telling you to. Because that's what I was saying, right? Like,
right, yeah.
I was waiting for the game to tell me to do that, even though I knew what I had to do that.
Oh, so I haven't seen. Was it the scene that references the other scenes? If that's what you mean, the one you were originally talking about. No, I found the.
That's another tier.
Yeah, I just found another tier that was the one that I'd seen indirectly. See, this is so confusing to talk about.
Too many spoilers for that part.
Yeah, it's just part of the freeform structure, I guess. It's strange. It can't always work if they're going to do that with their cutscenes. But
well, yeah. But it's just that one cutscene in particular. That one cutscene that isn't a tier and requires you to have been to a specific place, which you may do at any time or may not have even done by the time you're seeing these other tiers that include that scene.
Right.
And as I said, also depends on like your pre-knowledge of Breath of the Wild and like why certain places might be important and why you might want to go there.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure I now understand enough to know a reasonable chunk of the situation.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But you still haven't seen the tier that I said was the one with all the spoilers in.
No, I haven't.
Somehow.
I haven't seen whatever that is.
Although I did look at the map and it was like, oh yeah, I guess you might not come across that one very directly because it is slightly in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. So I've not been to Gerudo yet or any of that.
No.
Part of that side of the map I've not been to. I haven't done a lot of the south. I've only really just started progressing into Akala and the top right side of the map. Still not done any of the cubes.
Right.
I've thought another couple of the gloom hand things.
Right.
Those are still a pain in the ass.
But not any different.
Not any different, but I did a much better job on those next couple fights than I did that first one. Yeah, I don't know. Where are you at, Dan? You're the important one in this. So, reveal how much we can spoil.
Oh, no, you go for it. I mean, I haven't had a chance to play this week, but I'm hoping as soon as we finish recording to get a chance.
Oh. So you're still not at Death Mountain yet?
No.
Death Mountain stuff's fun. I think that's one of the... It's my favourite of the dungeons so far, anyway. The temples.
Well, the only things that I want to bring up in the extremely late game, which I can safely bring up without it being too much spoilery or anything. I mean, it's more a matter of like these things that I'm about to bring up are so late game that Rob especially might never actually see them, so maybe it's okay.
Right. I mean, it's possible because the draw isn't starting to fade a little bit. You may have gathered from me playing all these other games.
Well,
this
it's not
week,
necessarily
like
just late game in terms of like the extent of the game. It's more like super completion-y late game, I guess. Because I've discovered there is in fact a way to buy the Zonai capsules that you want.
Oh.
It's just that you only get that after you've fully filled your entire battery.
Oh, God, right.
So that's like 3,000 or more crystallized charges. And then you can start buying capsules directly.
I think I've got enough to fill out maybe another whole battery on it. Another battery icon, but I haven't gone
How
back
do you
and done
improve
that
your
yet.
battery again?
You get the crystallized charges from the depths, and then you take them to the forge constructs. Like there's that one out the back of Lookout Landing on that little rock chunk.
Yeah, there's a dude just there.
Oh, there's one near Lookout Landing, isn't it?
Yeah. Right outside the
Okay. So you don't have to go back to the starting island or whatever.
No, that's where you find the forge guy.
You can still do that because he's right next to a shrine. He's up next to the last shrine on the Sky Island. He's in that same room.
Right.
So you could just teleport back to that shrine instead, but Lookout Landing works as well.
Okay. Good to know.
Because that's where I did it the first time, because I forgot about all the other ones, and so I went back to the Sky Island.
But yes, if you grind enough crystallized charges to fill out your entire battery, then you can just start using the excess crystallized charges to buy capsules specifically.
So do you have to... Grinding is in basically mining the depths, right?
Pretty much.
Have to do?
Well, if you want to buy them with Zonite, yeah, I guess. But like they drop off the big enemies and the bosses of the depths, so
Usually only 20 at a time.
sure, and all the like other chests and whatnot in the depths. We'll have 20s in as well.
The rate isn't fast.
No, not super fast, but I mean, technically, I've completed my battery before I completed all the shrines, and I'm definitely not nearly done with the depths.
So have you done all the shrines now?
No, I'm still working on that. I've just sort of really started doing them in Gerudo now.
I think what keeps me going with Zelda is the fact that, like maybe, as much as I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the depths gameplay, it does sort of break things up a little bit. You can go and just spend like an hour or two down there and make a little bit of progress, and then go, no, I'm done with this, and then go back to the main game and be like, look, this is a sort of different thing I'm doing in parallel.
Sort of, yeah. And then the other late game, not really spoilery kind of thing I wanted to bring up was just a weird sort of decision about cooking, because I've basically finished, as far as I know, I've finished using dragon parts for armor upgrades. So now I'm like, well, now I can use these dragon parts for weapons, obviously,
right? Or
I can use them for cooking, because weirdly, like when you take photos of materials like horns and whatnot, you'll obviously notice that like you can take pictures of horns, but you can't take pictures of claws or other stuff like that. For some reason, it's only horns that go in the compendium. And that also applies to the dragon parts. Like, for some reason, 2 out of the 5 different types of dragon parts you can take pictures of, but the rest you can't.
Man, there are 5 different. Okay.
But so there's that. But like when you take a picture of something and it goes into the compendium, it also gives you the extra information, which tells you like the cooking effects. Which that's why I wish it would put all the parts in, because then you'd actually be able to know what the effects were without having to just experiment.
I see. Yeah.
Because it's really annoying. Because it's like because almost all the monster parts, the effect is just like adds a certain amount of time onto the buff. So there's a few that are actually better, like guts generally give you a higher amount of time on the buff.
So is that just in the compendium normally?
Yeah, if you've taken a picture of the part.
I didn't notice that.
And it will tell you. It tells you that for all the materials, like all the plants and stuff. It will say what the actual. Not that you can't look that up in the normal menu. It's just for the monster parts. It tells you that in the compendium menu.
What the increase is. Huh.
So yeah, you can look through there and be like, oh well, these guts give you a slightly better bonus than horns or whatever when you're making elixirs. I don't think guts are in the compendium now that I think about it, but I already kind of knew guts from Breath of the Wild, where it's like guts just give you a slightly better bonus.
The more you say guts, that's one of those words that sounded weirder to me every time you say it.
But so the weird thing about this is that
guts.
You take pictures of 2 specific parts of the dragon, one of which is the horns, and the horns have a ridiculous cooking bonus where it's like it basically maximizes the time on buffs, which is 30 minutes. So you can just make potions that last 30 minutes if you use a dragon horn. Except that's not entirely correct, because you cannot make potions that use dragon horns, because for some reason dragon horns are classed as food, not elixir.
What?
Which caused me to waste a bunch of parts initially.
Oh, so you actually made some dubious food.
Yeah.
I haven't made any dubious food yet.
Well, you should, because you need that. You need that for completing the recipe list.
The recipe
and also there's another reason somewhere in the world that you'll find eventually, but then you can just intentionally make some dubious food.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, the first couple of times I tried making elixirs, because I've already figured out a really awesome elixir setup that makes like triple speed boost, which I've just been using continuously, obviously, because why wouldn't you?
Oh, my echo got the word elixir confused.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I've been using triple speed boost potions continuously, because obviously, and once I figured out a recipe that firstly gives you triple speed boost and also lasts a decent amount of time. And, you know, if you critically succeed the recipe, it extends the buff even more. But now I'm like, well, I can do that with monster parts, right? So what if I use a dragon part that gives a 30-minute buff? But they know you can't use that recipe because that's a potion recipe, not a food recipe.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with a different one for that.
I don't know that I found enough. There's always it's the restless stuff you can use to make speed boosts, right? Restless crickets and
I don't remember with what restless crickets might be stamina.
Oh,
It's hot-footed frogs, fleet lotus seeds, mushrooms.
Yes, fleet lotus.
But yeah, the recipe. Here's my tip, gaming tip. If you want to have triple speed boost, it's free fleet lotus seeds and a frog and a monster part. Usually, that gives you the triple speed boost.
Nice
Recipe. And it's one frog and 3 fleet lotus seeds is pretty easy to get. And then if that's like 7 minutes of buff, and then if you crit success, it gives you like 12 minutes. Which is decent. The only trouble with that is because it uses the fleet lotus seeds and they have a healing component, the elixir still gets the healing, and you can crit succeed on the healing, not on the buff. So it can when you crit succeed the cooking, it only alters one of those.
Right,
so you can just get the one that gives you more health rather than the longer buff.
Yeah.
So that is the one slight disadvantage of that recipe.
So is there no other fast material then? Like, is it just the fleet and the frog?
Well, you can do it with there's another way to get the other way I used to do it for the triple buff is like if you use, I think it's like 3 frogs and 1 lizard and then a monster part. So that doesn't have a healing component. So you always, if it crits, you always get the extended time.
Right, yeah.
But then you're using 3 frogs rather than lotus seeds, which are much easier to get. Which is why I moved to that recipe. Because I just had tons of lotus seeds and I was like, oh yeah. And then, that's another one of those slightly subtle things about the cooking mechanics is that, like, things that are technically food and elixir parts, like mushrooms, you can put those in either. Because they count for both. Which is sort of makes sense from a traditional potion making aspect of using mushrooms.
Who cares?
But, you might not necessarily realise that unless you thought of that logic, that some things do count in both classes. Just depends on whether the critter is there with the monster part. But yes.
I haven't played much with cooking this time round because somehow I've just ended up with a full food.
Well, you do.
And,
I've sold tons of food, basically.
Right.
Because, all the shitty rice balls that Addison gives you all the time, I'm just like, I'm going to sell that for like 12 quid.
Sure. Most of the time I just eat them.
Yeah, that's where I haven't been doing. But now that I'm on like speed buff constantly, I was just like, can't eat anything else. Otherwise, I'll override my buff. My one buff.
It's like the bunny ears in Majora's Mask.
Yep, you always have to have it on.
Always wear them.
Yep.
Although that's still the thing in this game, of course, the armor abilities. Like that's why I always wear the barbarian armor, so I have the attack bonus, because obviously that conserves weapon durability as well inherently. But then that's why I wear the attack bonus, so I don't have to constantly eat to get it.
Right.
Rather than wearing armor, which would give you more armor, and then using the food to give you the attack bonus.
I see. Yeah.
And then I have some defense buff food just in case I come across something I feel like I need it for, but I don't think I do any longer. I think I'm past that point. I'll fight whatever. Also, the barbarian armor is now fully upgraded, so it's as much armor as it's ever going to get.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah, find more sets. I think I've not had a set bonus thing come up yet.
Yeah, that is somewhat of a problem, of course, because like now that they're all just dispersed randomly in caves across the world, it's like there's no necessarily, I don't think there's really any logic to where they are, except for obviously the weather specific armor sets in each region, like the ice set for the Rito area, and then and I don't mean the Rito armor, I mean the ice buff armor, whatever the hell that's called.
Oh, what, the attack in cold weather?
Yeah, the cold weather attack one that you find in caves. So all 3 parts of that are in Hebra or whatever, and then there's the fire one and the lightning one. They're all in their specific regions, but then all the other parts are just randomly in caves across the world, which is why it took me forever to find the last part of the rubber armor.
Right.
And it sucks even more if you want, say, the miner's armor from the depths, because then it's just in random chests in the depths.
Oh, man.
Which you might at least find an old map too.
Yes, but then, of course, the map doesn't tell you if this is just, here's a chest in the depths that contains, like, crystallized charges or an armor piece.
Right, yeah.
I did finally find the last. Well, I say I finally found. I fucking looked up which one of the maps led to the last piece of the miner's armor because I hadn't found it, and it was really pissing me off because I had like all the other sets of armor, and I was just missing that one. And I wanted to find out what the armor bonus was to see whether it was useful.
I still don't have any of those. Never discovered it.
But unfortunately, it wasn't that useful. I mean, I guess it's sort of useful because obviously, when you have the full miner's armor, gives you like tier 3 glow,
Right.
so you can just wear it in the depths and see without having to light
See
stuff
a little
up.
better anyway. Yeah.
Somewhat,
Yeah.
but then like the armor bonus for it is like you basically leave a trail of glowing patches behind you as you run around,
Oh,
which is
weird.
not super useful, but
No.
it's kind of nice, I guess. A little bit more light.
Not like you have a higher chance of mining better materials.
No, that would also have been nice. Like,
More materials. Get your zonite in.
but yeah, that's the reason why I was trying to find that, because obviously, you know, that's new to this game. There was no glow buff in the last game.
Get your glow buffs.
No, don't get your glow buffs. Don't even bother. Just use bright blooms, and then that's more than enough.
Yeah.
Man, the number of times I've seen people being like, "Oh, I use Reju all the time." I mean, minor spoilers from Riju's mechanic, I guess. I use Reju all the time because her ability can act as like an echolocation because it highlights the terrain as it pans out from you or whatever. So I'm using her to go through the depths without having to use bright blooms. It's like, man, that'd be such a pain in the ass. I can't imagine why you'd want to do that.
It's so slow, right? Because the respawn timers on the sages.
Well, her one specifically, because you toggle it and then it shows up the what is basically the area of effect, and then that hangs around for a while, and then if you don't use it, it just resets, but it doesn't start the cooldown, so you can just trigger it again off her. It's only when you actually fire it off that it goes into a cooldown state.
I did have the I still think that's the worst control decision in the game is the A on
Everything.
A on your sage friend to do their power, because that's bitten me a few times.
Yep.
And things have exploded in my face.
Yep.
And that's not been that entertaining. Well, I mean, it was a bit entertaining because, you know, explosions in your face, but also, yeah, should have been an avoidable control. There should have been some other way of doing it.
Yes. I mean, as people have pointed out, like, they should have just done it like they did in the last game, where the controls were specific to each one and were context sensitive to what you were doing, essentially.
In some way, yeah. But still, it's a bit of a nitpick, but it's a meaningful one.
But you're much less likely to accidentally trigger them in combat, because normally they're not standing next to you in combat, they're just running around all over the place. So when you do want to trigger them in combat, it's really annoying.
Yeah, you can't, yeah.
Because they're over there somewhere.
Yeah.
And there is, I don't know if you've seen it, but on the loading screen there's a tip where it's like, if you whistle, the sage avatars will come closer to you. And it's like, does that work? I can't even tell.
The horse whistle?
Yeah, if you just use the whistle.
Huh.
They're meant to group up next to you. But I honestly can't tell if it's doing anything at all.
Okay. Squad.
Yeah. I think there's not really much else that I need to talk about in terms of like the grind that I've been on. Like I said, I think I'm done with dragon parts. I may not be done with stars. I don't really know how many of those I'm going to need. I haven't estimated it yet by looking at how many incomplete armor sets I still have of the reference armor or whatever.
Right, yeah. I found probably the most, I don't know if it's confusing or annoying, but it's one of those things I have to hope to remember things that I've discovered so far. Is I found a thing that looked like a puzzle, so I did the thing.
Yeah.
And it played the diddle. It played the diddle.
Right.
And then nothing happened. and I'm like, what have I just done? I don't understand. So I sort of scoured the area to be like, is there anything interesting else around here? Has anything happened? And it's like, because it didn't camera pan to anything, or
Right.
anything like that. And I'm like, what? I don't know what I've achieved here. But then at one point clearly walked slightly too far away from the thing, so the puzzle state reset.
Right.
And I put the thing back in the thing, and then it didn't play the diddle
Yeah.
the second time I did it. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea what this is doing. I'm going to take a photo of it just in case.
Well, yeah, as you do.
but I found that mildly annoying. It's like, why even make the sound for it and give me no indication of what I've achieved? And then if it's not a permanent thing, like because it resets when you're not too far away, it like what is the meaning of this?
Well, I think I know. I think it must be the same one that happened to me too. But the thing is that, like, I walked a certain distance away and part of it reset, and then I went and put it back in. But then when I then went away again, it stayed. It stayed the second time. So when I came back for the actual purpose of that, it was still done, basically.
Weird. Okay. Yeah, it just struck me as slightly strange.
Yes, that wasn't that. Yeah, it is just a case of, like, there's that one situation where it's linked to a quest that you aren't doing yet, basically.
Yeah.
But it still triggers the completion ding.
Yeah.
For some reason. It really shouldn't.
Well, there should be some other.
I mean, it doesn't even need to do that at all in that case. Like, sure, it would be weird that you'd be able to put the things back in place and then it wouldn't do anything at all, but then maybe that would make it slightly more obvious that it's a thing you have to come back to later.
Yeah.
Rather than playing a completion sound effect like something happened right then.
It's just that usually the game doesn't put things in the space that you can do so, unless it's
currently active.
It's already active.
Yeah.
Or more to the point, it doesn't matter if it's active or not. And like you doing the thing will reveal something anyway.
Right, yeah.
The game's normally very good at that. And it's, I don't know. It's weird because it's like, the game's normally, as I say, very good at managing that stuff. And it stands out when there's something that they've perhaps slightly fumbled on that front. And it's like, I'm sure there's a lot to manage and a lot of moving parts like this. But yeah, that was noticeable.
Yeah, I mean,
a minor fumble.
There was definitely several ways that they could have managed that. Like, they could have closed the door to that place until you were on that quest, even, because there's no reason to allow you to go into the place until you're on the quest.
I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
Well, I think we probably have.
There's no door involved.
I mean, there was in Breath of the Wild. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
There used to be a door there.
Well, then I don't know. My memory of Breath of the Wild is apparently quite poor.
Yes,
quite poor. Anyway. Still plodding through that.
Yeah, tons of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I've played a lot less this last 2 weeks, I guess, compared to the previous ones. But a lot less is still a lot.
Yeah, I've definitely played less of it this last couple of weeks. I'm feeling the need for something else. Like I wouldn't say I'm out, but it's but a bit of variety is now required in my gaming schedule.
But then all I've actually been playing, apart from small bits of Derg and Rocket League and whatnot, as always,
standard.
I just played a lot more Oxygen Not Included. But it's really annoying because I was playing that weird flipped asteroid from the
rotated,
the special one, and I've played that to a certain point where it was because it's in the DLC version of map generation, there's still what they call classic map generation, where the asteroid you start on is big. Because in the spaced out version of terrain generation, even the asteroid you start on is as small as all the other ones to encourage the space part. Whereas in the classic generation, the starting asteroid is big and then all the other ones are small. So you can sort of stay on the main one for longer before you need to do the space thing, but obviously because it's still in the spaced out DLC, the space still works like that. So playing this flipped asteroid, I hadn't even done any space stuff. In fact, I hadn't even gone through the teleporter to the one that you could teleport to. I was still only using the primary asteroid. And then I got to the point where I was thinking about, now I need to go through the teleporter and start space stuff. And then I was just like, I should just go back to my actual save. I should stop playing this weird new save and go back to the last save where I'd got so far, and I should actually continue with my plans there.
Try and finish a thing.
Well, yeah, maybe. But the trouble is that now I went back to my actual save, it just runs so badly. It's just reached that point where it's just like there's too much going on and my system can't handle it any longer.
I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's plenty of other games where the process of finishing a thing isn't the fun part of the game, so you never end up getting around to doing it.
Sure.
Like I'm trying to remember what those, like, normally I guess it's like, for me, like any kind of sim game, right? The number of games I actually finish with that. Like, no, like back in the day, I'll start a game of Civ, never finish it. I'll get so far through and then go, nah.
Well, that's slightly weird because that's just like a time limit thing more than a. Well, unless
it can be. A game of Civ can take forever. Right?
Well, sure, but I mean, it's always going to end after a certain number of turns.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, maybe it was like
not really a choice, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess you don't really do that, and in like action games, particularly, it has to be like some kind of like sim or strategy game of some description where you get so far in, and then it's just like you never actually finish the round or whatever. You never finish that playthrough.
I mean, with Oxygen not included, I definitely like the early game is slightly more fun in that like you're dealing with the small problems, because when I'm in my late game save, I'm like, now I'm dealing with the big problems, and solving any of these big problems is going to take so long. Just this one project, designing it and building it and just spending the time in the game to get this one thing done. And that's like, that's why you fall off in that end, because it's like now it's
sure. now it's more work.
Yeah, now it's getting intimidatingly long processes.
Yeah, do I actually want to do that?
And also some amount of like indecision. I was talking before about when I was playing that other save of talking about whether I wanted to build the nuclear reactor or not, where it's just like, it's a huge project to do that, but do I really need to do that? Do I want to do that? Would there really be a purpose for doing it other than seeing if I could in this specific save, in this specific base?
Just reminded me, I never really finished any part of No Man's Sky. Like, not any element of it did I, like...
Not that there's much to finishing No Man's Sky, really, I guess.
I don't know, yeah.
But yes, I did finally, in my real save and Oxygen not included, I did finally commit to doing a big project, which was on the starting asteroid on that save, there's like a pair of volcanoes, which I've just sort of built around up to this point. And I was like, well, okay, now I'll finally tap into those and build a volcano power plant or whatever. But the trouble with that is, it's not necessarily that the project took a long time, because I'd seen that their volcanoes were dormant, so I was like, okay, I've got like 30 cycles until they turn back on, so that would give me time to build the whole thing around them before they start putting magma all over the damn place. So that's good. So I did that, but then I was like, well, I finished the build, and now it's 15 cycles to go until they actually start erupting, so I'm just going to have to sort of wait, which was annoying to start with. But then the trouble with that is that, like, the way the volcanoes were, well, the way all the vents and geysers and stuff work in Oxygen not included, they have their time where they're dormant. So that time expired, it goes from dormant into active, but being active doesn't necessarily mean it immediately starts erupting. So these volcanoes is like, I was waiting for the timer to go down for them to finish being dormant, and then it's like, and they're active, erupts in 4 more cycles. So I'm like, God damn it, I have to wait even longer. And then when they did finally erupt in 4 more cycles and the magma started coming out, it didn't actually put out enough magma to fill the room that I needed it to fill with magma to actually turn on the power plant. And then it's like, now I have to wait another 15 cycles for them to erupt again. God damn it. So I still don't know whether this whole power plant is actually going to work or not, because I still doesn't have enough magma in to actually start.
And is it one of those games where you can't just put it in fast forward for 15 cycles?
Well, again, my computer can't handle it.
Oh, right.
It's like, if as soon as, even running at the slower speed, it will sometimes like tank the frame rate to like below 20 or worse. I mean, I don't, obviously tanking the frame rate is good, because then it's still running the computational processes of the game. It's sacrificing frame rate to keep the actual simulation running, essentially. But it's just difficult to look at. And also you can't even like pan the camera around when it's running that badly.
Right, yeah.
So every time I actually want to do something, I have to essentially pause and then go and set it up and then start the game running again when it's running this bad. But yeah. And again, I built this whole lava power plant and it might not work. Like I've only built one of this kind once before, and it's not the same design really. So I looked up some of the theory in wikis and whatnot, and like came up with an idea, but I don't technically know whether it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, when you're dealing with magma, that's real bad. If you suddenly have a big pool of molten rock sitting around and now it's melting everything or whatever, that's going to fuck everything up. But then that's why I as soon as I started digging into these volcanoes, I was like, I'm going to make a separate save in case I want to revert this. But then the trouble with that is, of course, now it's a save that's like 50 cycles in the future because I've had to wait for so long before these volcanoes actually start erupting. So there's all the other stuff I've done in that same time in the other parts of my base that I'd be undoing if I undid this.
Right.
But yeah, I think it'll probably work. How efficiently, though, who knows? And I also, as always, made some contingencies to be like, if I need to go in there and open it back up, theoretically I can. People might have to wade through lava somewhat, but that's fine.
Job hazard.
They actually survived that pretty good in Atmo suits.
These are some amazing Atmo suits. It burns everything. I remembered something I was playing.
Oh yeah,
that I didn't talk about. I've played, I wouldn't say many hours, but a few hours of Psychonauts: The Rhombus of Ruin.
Right, the VR one.
The VR one, yeah. I don't get much chance to play VR stuff these days, so I've done it in. I think I've had like 2 sessions over the course of the last 2 months on it, so it's a bit disjointed. But yeah, so it's kind of the missing chapter in the Psychonauts games because
does it fill in all that lore? Does it make any sense?
I mean, I don't know because I guess I haven't got to the end of it yet, right. So I don't know. I don't know quite where. But the missing chapter isn't necessary. But it's in between Psychonauts 1 and 2 story wise. Basically, at the end of Psychonauts 1, you just get on the ship, right? The sort of aircraft thing they have, and you're off to Psy HQ or something, but you realize that Lily's dad has been kidnapped. Oh no! So you go to the place where it might be happening. It's not the Bermuda Triangle; it's the Rhombus of Ruin. Because of course they had to change it, and then but in Psychonauts 2, like you've clearly, this mission has clearly been a success or something because you've achieved that goal and it's referenced and things like that in Psychonauts 2 as that having happened. So yeah, this is you rescuing yourself and your cohorts from the Bermuda Triangle, and it's interesting because they've had to it's not a platformer in any way. It's not like anything like that. It's you're basically playing as Raz, but using but you are restrained. You've been captured and you're effectively stuck in your seat. So the mechanics are all about using your psycho. What do you even call it? Psi powers. Let's just call them Psi. To manipulate the world around you without you being able to do things. So that works by using conveniently, one of the powers in the Psychonauts universe is clairvoyance, which means you can see the world through someone else's eyes. So you're hopping your mental vision from person to person by looking at someone and going, I want to see through your eyes now, and then you're sort of moving through the world virtually that way. So it's their way of doing like a teleport mechanic, I guess. But you're not actually moving as the character. It's just your mind moving into other people, which means they can do the clairvoyance thing that Psychonauts does at times, where you look through their eyes and you see the world as they do, and see that it's messed up in places or not right, and that can lead to puzzles. I'd say the game in itself is more akin to it's a bit like a point and click adventure, in the sense that it's quite a linear. It's totally linear, but you get put into a new area. There's a puzzle to solve by manipulating the world around you. You have to do this thing to that and this thing to that, and then there'll be some dialogue, and then you move on, and then the path opens up and you go do the next thing, and you just keep going through it, and it's never. I guess it's fairly inventive, and so you'll go to an area and then it'll be something new to do. Though they won't necessarily repeat tasks all that often, or you'll go somewhere and there'll be a slide puzzle for some reason, or you'll go here and it'll be about combining elements together to make something else, and then you have to put that something on the thing to do a certain thing that a certain character recognizes, to breaking them out of a trance and all that kind of stuff. And it's
does it lose a lot from the Psychonauts aesthetic by not having the world of the mines, essentially?
I mean, arguably, yeah, because it's not as mad, because it is mostly in the real, in for as much as the So as much as the rhombus of ruin is the real world, it's all kind of crafted in a specifically weird way. You're not going into people's heads in the way that those games work. You're not going through the door and ending up in their weird mental states. I think it probably does lose a little something from in that respect. You get your brief glimpses of it when you go into certain characters' heads and you can see what they see in the room you're in, but it only changes a few models here and there. It's not dramatically changing the aesthetic or anything as nuts as that. Or I guess that's the limitation they were working with. It was Double Fine's experiment into VR.
Well, I mean, that's not necessarily a limitation they had to work with. You could have.
If you've been watching Psych Odyssey, it wasn't done on a very big budget.
Well, sure, but that's not what I mean. I mean, the game that they made could have still worked in the context of going into people's minds and having the whole aesthetic change.
Yeah, I wonder.
Because the gameplay that would fit in any environment in theory.
But I wonder if that would have meant they would have had to have made it a much bigger project to make it a much bigger game.
Well, it would have been
because I'm not convinced this is a very long experience.
Sure. It would have been a much higher art load, sure.
Yeah,
would have been the main thing.
Yeah,
but gameplay-wise, if you'd just taken the same number of levels or whatever and just put different aesthetics on it, it could have worked in the same.
Yeah, they could have gone a bit more to town on that, maybe. I imagine budgetary constraints and just limiting the scope of the project, because they were targeting PSVR 1 with this as well, and to not be too far out from PSVR 1's launch, which is sensible given Sony's track record of supporting hardware.
Yeah.
I guess there were plenty of project limitations on this, but it's well made, is what I would say. I don't know if I've really played many what I would call bigger budget experiences in VR. This is kind of my first one of those that isn't just a small indie project. I don't know. I guess this is also an indie project because Double Fine and all that stuff. They weren't owned by Microsoft at this point, and
just barely.
Yeah, well, they weren't far from it, but yeah. It's good. There's I'm not sure every joke is landing, and there are some places where it overbarks. Let's say, that probably one of the most annoying game foibles. It's where people are things are just talking at you too often with repetitive lines. It does that on occasion, so that's a small against. And there's definitely been moments where I've been in the middle of Raz saying something, and then I've just done something else because VR. It just can, and it's cut him off mid-sentence, and the game doesn't handle that particularly well at times. And but yeah, it looks nice. It looks like Psychonauts. I've got no problems with the visuals. As They did well going back to the Psychonauts aesthetic before, after, I guess it was a long old time, maybe 10 years after Psychonauts 1 had been made, that they went back and did this. So it's good. It's good. Get some
Good.
VR. I should do more stuff in VR. VR's cool. Like but it is just, I don't know if I can. I still don't think I've ever got my VR legs, if that's a thing. Like I don't feel like I could be in there for super long periods of time. Like, so I played I guess I did like an hour and a bit of it in the last session I played of it, and it's that might be my limit to a certain extent. Like, it's just the headset just starts to get a bit uncomfortable, and your eyes start to feel a bit weird. I wasn't getting motion sickness from this because you can play it entirely seated, right? You actually don't need to use your hands as controllers in this. You're basically using them just as button inputs and the sticks on them. Because I think it was designed for PSVR. I think it was designed for PSVR with a controller,
right?
But the control, even the controller location isn't relevant. So you're sitting there nice and good. You do have to look around a fair amount. There's sometimes stuff completely above you, and it can sometimes help to turn a little bit around behind you and things like that. But it's a seated experience, so that's quite nice. Don't have to clear space for it, which is also increasingly a problem in baby times.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I should do more stuff in VR. VR's cool. Maybe that Quest 3 sounds interesting though. I don't want one, but like just the pure bullet point that it's lighter. Like, it's a thinner, lighter design, and it's like, well, that immediately sounds like a game change. Don't necessarily care about the rest of your feature set.
It was interesting that Apple, they usually want to make the slickest product they can, but when they doing this Vision Pros, they're like, yeah, we'll put the battery in a pack that's attached by a cable because we don't want you to have to carry the battery on your head on top of everything else.
Yeah, which is not the worst idea, honestly. Although the solution in Metaland, or for like third-party accessories to the Quest 2, has been like, well, attach a battery to the back of your head, and then that balances the weight. So you will add more weight to balance weight.
Well, it should already be balanced, though. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah. Well, the straps that come in the Quest 2 with the Quest 2 are rubbish.
Sure.
Like, I'm pretty happy that I upgraded my strap rig to something a bit more PSVR like, honestly.
I know regular consumers would have hated it, but like, they should have just put most of
one weird tip.
Yeah, they should have just put most of the technology stuff in like a tiny backpack that you just mount on your shoulders.
Oh man,
it would be terrible design wise, and everyone would hate it, but it would be way more comfortable.
Yeah, in some ways it's not the worst, right? If you could wear it a bit like a battery pack, like for microphone kits, right?
Yeah. But, well, maybe not on your hip though. Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the game, I guess. But like, the hip's probably not a terrible location, actually.
Well, I mean, it depends how it's attached to your hip. You don't want to be in a belt dragging situation.
It depends on the clipping, but yeah.
But yes, I mean, obviously that would have been a horrible bit it would look horrible, the design would be horrible, consumers would hate it, but it would just be way more comfortable.
It would be way more comfortable, yeah. And in some respects, that's why like the fully cabled solutions, like, well, PSVR 2 is still cabled, right? But it's powered off that cable as well, isn't it? I don't think it has batteries in it, so it's it can get away with a lighter unit. Weight makes a huge difference with this stuff.
Yeah. The old school solution of just like having a backpack with a laptop in it. That that worked for a reason.
Wear a Dreamcast on your back with a keyboard out front.
Yep.
And then
type people dead.
Man, I still need to get around to play. I need to do more light gun game and stuff as well, but summer gets in the way of that because it's light for longer.
Too much backlighting.
Too much backlighting, yeah. Like I do want to get around to playing House of the Dead Overkill with it. Because I'm sure that'll be good fun. And then I can do it with typing of the Dead Overkill.
Where you can play the not typing version of Typing of the Dead.
Yeah. Well, no, typing in the Dead Overkill has both versions included.
Well, that's what I mean.
So it's
It's
nice.
just like, you can play this game which they specifically called a thing relevant to the thing, but then they gave you this other option as well.
It's nice. It's nice. So many games I need to play. Oh, and like there's some bangers on Game Pass at the moment as well. It's just too many games. Too many games.
But that's the end of this podcast, probably, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's the end of this podcast about games because we've talked about all of the games that we have played.
Oh, I guess we didn't have a TV section this week. I watched that there, Hawkeye. I watched all of it. It's good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, the Christmas thing.
The Christmas thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it was
good show.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, Haley Steinfeld. I feel like the casting is what makes it, right? She's really
Sure.
good, and then fucking Florence Pugh pops up,
Sure.
and she's amazing in literally everything. Yeah, and obviously it's about Jeremy Renner. He's doing a good job of looking disinterested and bored.
Yes.
which is appropriate for the character. Well, they managed to. Maybe that he feels like that about Marvel, but I mean they parlayed that into a good series. You know, it makes sense.
Yes, it works. It's
He's like, ugh, I've had enough of this shit.
yeah. I had a good time with it. It's decent. I guess Secret
Did you see
Invasion is
the,
next. I'll get around to watching that. Although I probably should have watched
Did
Black
they do
Widow
the
before it.
full-blown version of the musical?
Yes, I did see the actual scene. Yeah,
like Avengers musical.
it's so, but it's.
They would definitely do that.
I was, as much as I hate musicals, I kind of enjoyed that scene because it is ridiculous. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's a takeoff, obviously, but yeah, Secret Invasion. I'm not hearing much about it, given that it's the current show. Yeah,
like, is it? How is that? Is it? Did it drop all at once, or is it releasing episodes slowly?
No,
or?
I think it's week by week, and I think there's loads of famous people in it, but no one is talking about it, apart from complaining about titles being made with AI and getting very annoyed about it.
Wait,
hopefully they've already finished production also.
What do you mean? What they like the opening titles or something?
The opening titles are like clearly Mid-Journey or whatever, basically.
No way.
And Disney are like, it's an artistic choice, yeah, because that's the theme of the show is that it's weird.
I mean,
but it's obvious, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that could be cool because AI stuff is weird and hilarious.
Yeah,
inconvenient
also,
timing though.
Not good timing. Yeah, exactly. And now the actors are going on strike, so all of Hollywood is going on.
Oh wait, that's happening as well.
Yes, they've just
this week. The actors are joining the writers this week.
Oh man,
so as I say,
down.
They better hope they've already finished production. And it's currently
it's serious business.
Yeah,
like I was just at this family thing yesterday, and my cousin's married to she works in like the costume department of all these big movies.
Yeah, of course, everything stops.
And everything is stopping. Everyone's getting fired. She's got a job because she explained they're doing something called franchising, where if you make a production that's big enough, then they keep you on afterwards to make copies of the lead actor's costume to put in exhibitions. And
oh, right. I see. Gotcha.
things, so you can have a Captain America costume and, you can put it on display in various, for example. So she's got a job doing that for a while, but in general, it's shutting down. And it's interesting because
being in broadcast, I know this quite well because the most equipment for like film and TV is not bought. It's often rented.
No, it's rented.
So the rental market stops. So a big revenue stream.
Yeah,
just goes.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It'll probably last a while, maybe the rest of the year.
Let's hope it's not as long as the last writer's strike because we ended up with some terrible things.
Well, the writer's strike's already been going on for like 2 months at this point.
But the last one was friggin' ages, wasn't it?
At least it's the actor's strike too. They can't make stuff with terrible non-writing.
I suppose that's true. Actually,
well, but they can make things with terrible non-unionized actors.
Oh no!
Yeah, but
maybe I'm back in.
Oh no!
Yeah. Oh no! Hey, speaking of oh no,
okay.
Sonic Prime Season 2 dropped.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Finally.
So we can
resolve these weird unresolved things.
I mean, I don't know if it resolves.
Well, we can add some more unresolved things to the already unresolved things.
Yeah. So yeah, we can watch that. I also finished off Agretsuko. They're not making any more of that apparently. So season 5 is the last season. That's a shame. It was real good. I enjoyed the hell out of it. More please. Agretsuko's excellent. If you haven't watched it, it's go for it on Netflix. Yeah, there you go. That's my TV bit done.
That's TV.
That's TV. Also, weird. A weird thing for me to want to watch, right? Like Noam and I thought it's like, because we tend to watch like shows like Only Connect when we have lunch and things like that. So we'll have lunch and watch an episode of Only Connect or something. Yeah, we like our game shows. We like our incredibly difficult game shows. What are you going to do about it? So we thought, actually, we got into Only Connect quite late. So we thought, we could just go back and watch old ones. These questions aren't going to age that badly. Surely they're all on iPlayer. No, they are not. You can only go back like a year of content, and then and then
BBC's bad for that.
Yeah, they don't exist. So it's,
I don't know why they do that.
Yeah. There's like someone that's put up a few of the very first seasons on YouTube.
There must be a reason for that.
But like half of those are blocked because someone is saying like, "Oh, no, you don't own the license to this content." But not all of them. Weirdly, that's the strange thing.
I don't. Because Netflix would never do that. If they make content, they'll keep it there forever. Their own content that they make.
I don't know about that.
But like the BBC always...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's happened yet, but I guess they might be forced to delist something if it was a licensed product and there was some agreement there that goes wrong. But generally, yes, if Netflix made it, I would assume they would keep it up. Because they've still kept the Bebop up, right? Even though they didn't like it.
Well,
yeah,
that was not the worst one ever, I don't think.
Bebop was fine.
But like, why can't I, by paying my license fee and with all the streaming technology, why can't I watch BBC sitcoms from the 1970s? Like, why not?
Because they need you to watch actual TV. That's why.
Well, the BBC still haven't got their act. Still. Let's not forget the BBC still haven't got their act together on 4K and things like that. Like, you can watch it on iPlayer live, but you can't stream. You can't. They don't ever host anything like for watching later in 4K or anything like that. That still hasn't happened.
I mean, they have literally just now uploaded like the entire series of Red Dwarf, including
to
all,
iPlayer.
Yeah, on iPlayer, including all the stuff from Dave as well. They somehow got the license for that.
Okay, that's cool. Did they? Because all of the UK, almost all of the UK stuff are kind of in this. They kind of work together quite a bit, right? Like BBC often uses ITV materials to film stuff,
right?
And, like they often share studios, stuff like that. Like all like Channel 4 is obviously kind of tied into all of that as well. They all kind of work together, and to the point where they were all working on BritBox,
right? Yeah, the free streaming thing.
Well, it wasn't free. That was the thing.
Oh, no, the non-free.
The non-free one, but it kind of brought all of them together into a streaming service and supposedly had everything. Like it had the archives. That was kind of its thing. And that was, I guess, why stuff couldn't turn up on iPlayer, because it was held behind this paywall agreement.
Right.
But I don't think BritBox has survived. And so maybe that's like,
maybe that deal has expired now.
Yeah, I don't think BritBox worked, so they're starting to open it up. And also, it conflicted with Channel 4 anyway, because Channel 4 has always had we're going to put all our archives on demand of stuff we own,
right?
For free. Yeah, streaming too many streaming services. Keep it simple. Just keep it simple and put it there, and people will watch it.
But not in the way that they want you to.
No. I mean, that was a news thing that was floating around over the last couple of weeks, right? There was that study on game preservation.
Yeah.
And that supposedly the state of game preservation is way worse than anyone thought. Although I'm pretty sure everyone thought it was bad.
Well, I mean, as usual with this kind of thing, the headline overblows it, I think.
Yeah, it's about you can't
it's about buy 80% of video games.
There's no totally above board way of playing about 87% of video games that have ever been made. Is the thing.
But it's not necessarily that those games don't literally exist. Like, someone somewhere might have a card.
No,
but like you can't just go on a service and buy them.
Oh, and most even arcade stuff has been backed up, and there's a lot of like backed up material for this stuff. There's just no legal way of you accessing it.
Yeah,
there's no library equivalent, and of course it suffers from a technical problem that no other medium has. Right, the ability to play it is hampered by hardware and solutions. So it's a real problem, and I stand by the preservationists and the historians in trying to provide ways for people to go back and do this, because otherwise it's impossible for, I don't know, entertainment students or academics of the medium, I guess, to go back and review the past, which is a unique problem. Sort it out.
I mean, it was always going to be this way as soon as... obviously it's especially bad with arcade stuff that has specific hardware.
Oh, yeah, like or a specific control
Well,
device.
Yeah, that's what I mean by specific hardware. Like, all these different games that had weirdly specific control setups, they were just never going to get preserved. Mm. But, at least the software part probably is backed up.
It's weird, isn't it? Because I was sort of thinking about it, because what the games industry wants, and what any industry, I suppose, wants, is the same thing that live event industry has, right? They want a thing to be a FOMO-inducing, you got to be there, otherwise it's lost to time thing.
Sure.
Like, you have to go to this exhibition because it's a physical thing and you have to be there. You need to go see this thing for real.
But it's not quite that bad because,
But live service games are that bad.
Well, now, but they were, previously video games were still a product.
Yeah.
There was still some amount of hype on, like, the release date cycle and pre-orders and all that stuff, but, like,
that's
it was still a thing you just buy.
Yeah, that's fading, but... And don't get me wrong, games like that still exist. Nintendo are still flying that flag, right? Yeah. Of a game being a game, and good on them.
But, everyone's done with live service games now.
Hopefully. Nobody likes them. Or there's enough successful ones that we don't need any more.
Just like MMOs.
Yeah, just like MMOs. Anyway, there we go. I got philosophical on games for the end of this podcast.
Okay.
Podcast about video games.
Yeah. Nice way to round it out, I guess. Yeah, hopefully they get preserved a little better than they have. Keep those ROMs.
Don't sell your stuff
somewhere.
No need to worry. Dwarf Fortress is in the museums already, and we're good.
Keep it in.
Yeah, or
as long as Dwarf Fortress is preserved, then you could preserve all the other games inside Dwarf Fortress. I'm sure.
I say, don't sell yourself. Sell your stuff.
To Rob.
To me, yeah. Sell responsibly. Don't throw gaming stuff away.
You got enough room in your attic for...
Oh God! I mean, this is a whole nother thing. I was thinking about that last time I was up there, and I was sort of thinking, it's like, hang on, if Miles starts acquiring stuff, where's it going to go?
Sell that shit.
It's not mine.
Yep, that's what happens.
Podcast.
Right. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you for the next podcast. But if you can't wait, we've got a YouTube channel, Happy Salad. So check that out for gaming videos.
Not exactly a substitute for podcasts, but
No, but that'll do. Tide you over.
Check out some 20-year-old games there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And indeed, we'll see you in a couple of weeks for another Saladcast. Goodbye.